Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and Joe Dehls. And this is now episode 357. In this episode, we're going to finish up NBA team grades that we left off with on episode 355. Gentlemen, we got 11 teams left. The Clippers, Lakers, Wolves, Pelicans, OKC, Suns, Bucks, Knicks, Magic, Pacers, Miami Heat. A lot to get into. How we doing today?
I'm doing pretty great. A lot of great teams. A lot of great teams to talk about.
A lot of agenda teams.
Absolutely. So this should be a pretty good show. But I'm doing great. Today is my girlfriend's birthday. 26 years young.
Shout out, Alexandra.
I've known her since I was 14. The fact that she's 26 now, the bitch is old. Kind of crazy as fuck that we've been together, or I've known her that long.
Past that word.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That was nuts.
Let it ride. Said it with confidence, though. Respect it.
Like when you've been in a relationship that long, you feel like you can just let anything fly at that.
That is exactly how I feel.
No, she might not watch it. So.
No,
She won't.
there's no might.
Oh.
10,000.
She will not
she
watch
will not
it.
watch
Yeah.
this.
It'd be crazy if somebody sent her a clip.
Now, before we jump into this episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. You see the top right corner of this video. Use code PAS for a 100% deposit match up to $100. And gentlemen, Prize Picks is available in 30 plus states.
Yes, sir.
And it's so easy to use.
Come on.
Placing entries, making plays. I mean, it's the best daily fantasy sports app out there right now.
There's very few sports betting apps that are as easy as Prize Picks. Let's just be completely transparent. That's the reason why I love using Prize Picks as much as I do. All the plays are right there. The uniqueness of squares, it just makes it so easy. That's why I love Prize Picks for sure.
The plays they have up there, just the versatility they have on the app.
That's a fact.
Is amazing. And I love Prize Picks. It's one of the best apps I've ever used.
Use code PAS, 100% deposit match up to $100.
That'd be
Santos.
Take
it easy. Take it easy.
I was thinking more of me, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
for sure.
Bro is going Tekashi 6ix9ine on this.
Nah, OD. Bro's acting like the D-Lo of old. I respect that.
D-Lo, man. Had so much aura.
So
back in
how
the day.
was your game yesterday, fellas?
It was
We lost.
devastating.
Both games.
Devastating loss. We lost both games by a combined 6 points.
Damn.
We lost game 1 by 4. We lost game 2 by 2. We lost game 2 on a game winner.
Like buzzer beater?
No. It was
2 seconds
like 10 seconds left on the clock. Bro threw up a floater and it fucking went doop doop. And
What happened? Last shot, you guys didn't get it?
Well, we tried to. We inbounded with like 7 seconds. We tried to push the ball. We called timeout. Didn't know we had that you were allowed to. Thought you only got 1 because that's what we've been playing with before. But suddenly today, you get 2. Yesterday, you get 2 timeouts. So we go and we try to call timeout. They didn't hear us. And we ran out of time.
Pain.
I need a hooper, man.
So, how many games left you guys got?
1.
0-6?
Yeah, we're 0-6.
There
Well,
we
me
go.
and Riv are 0-5.
No facts, though. Yeah. We're 0-5. 0-6, but yeah.
Yo, yesterday was by far and away the worst I played too. The first game I played bad. Second game I did not play bad. First game I played bad because I shot so much and they just were not falling. Every
played in a
shot was
minute.
short. OD. But I hit chest yesterday and thought it'd be a good idea to do that, play basketball. And then I did not eat. So we played 2 games on an empty stomach.
You're wildin'.
Well, listen, this was Drew's first season in this men's league, and 0-6 record, 0-5
What
for you
was your
guys is
record
not a
last
great
year?
record.
It's not.
We made the playoffs. I think we were 4-3.
A different team? Like you have different guys?
Nah, we had, for the most part, the same guys.
Damn.
So you're
Added
telling
like
me
2.
he's Jordan Poole to y'all.
No.
I don't know what I've done to destroy the team chemistry on this team.
You made CJ not know how to play basketball no more. You came on a team you can't play basketball.
Bro.
Now, to be fair, this season is better teams than last season. So
Okay.
yeah.
Bro, the funniest thing happened yesterday on the court. CJ for 37 of 40 minutes in game 2 played like absolute doo. But the last 3 minutes of the game, he fucking remembered how to play basketball. But before that happened, I forget what he did. He tried to drive to the basket and he threw up some like left-handed, just fading layup. Terrible. But instinctually, not even thinking about it, I just go, I fucking hate him. And then Rip goes, bro, I hate him too. And we just run back on defense. Dude,
Oh my
that
God.
game was tough, man. I was so upset that we lost.
I was more upset we lost the second one than the first one.
Nah, facts.
Because the first one we were down 10 at one point. We had to come back. But the second one, it was like a nail biter. Like we're going back and forth the whole game.
What's your team's identity? I mean, you're 0-6. Don't really have one, but like defense, offense, shooting, get to the paint.
Listen, man. I feel
Find a
like
way to win.
I don't even know what our identity. It used to be defense.
Our offense is mad sloppy. It's sloppy. It's really where I respect it. Riv has to do a majority in terms of like driving, getting to the paint. The issue is this guy has blinders sometimes when he goes into the paint, which is fine. He gets his, but he has blinders and he knows it. Mm-hmm. He knows it. Look, he's laughing, but it's the truth. But the thing is, we don't pass enough. We really don't pass enough. But in the first half of yesterday's game, we played with the second unit. I was playing with the second unit because we were playing fucking fire. But we were just getting out and running. We were hitting our open shots. We were playing good on defense. I think that's really what our issue is. We lack energy on the defensive side of the ball. Like just there's maybe 3 heads that almost every possession give effort on defense. And that can't be. You're not going to win like that. Yeah. So it is what it is. Hopefully we get better.
I am not one of them 3 heads.
No, this brother does not play defense.
He just wanted to let you know.
So you really are Jordan Poole.
Huh? No, I play defense. He's all right. He's exaggerating as fuck.
I am.
I play defense, but if like I don't get the ball for like 5-6 possessions, I'm not playing defense.
That's kind of what you made your identity on. I feel like every podcast episode we talk about the men's league. All you're talking about is how you play excellent defense, and he's telling me you're not playing defense.
No, I play defense. Like if we locked in, like we're all locked in sync, and like it's a game, I'm playing defense. But if like there was this part of the game where I didn't get the ball for like 5 possessions, but I was open. And I'm just looking around, and I'm just like,
this guy's a fucking me guy. Oh, he has the ball like 80% of the time.
That is
What's
me
his
guy.
usage rate?
No, it's in the 40s. It's in the 40s.
No, it's not
it's
that game.
in the 40s.
That game, it wasn't in the 40s.
So let me get this straight. Riv can, but doesn't play defense.
Correct.
So we'll make that distinction.
He most definitely can.
Okay, he doesn't play defense.
No.
He doesn't shoot. He's not. He's an inefficient shooter.
He is an
He drives to the basket, has tunnel vision like
That's
RJ Barrett.
That's
and
sometimes.
No,
That's sometimes.
it is sometimes. It was yesterday that was probably at its worst. Yesterday was probably at its worst.
Joel, you know what's the funny part? 90% of the team has tunnel vision when they go to the basket. So it's like
He's cooking.
It's just so it is what it is.
Nah, I was looking like a young Sabonis yesterday. I really was. I had to pass more than I could score, and it was sad. OD. I couldn't shoot. I had nothing. I had no legs, no arms.
Yeah.
I played 34 of like the 40 minutes of the full game. Of the second game after playing a full game 1 and getting a gym lift on no food. Why didn't I take myself out of the game?
Why don't you eat something?
Because we left straight from the podcast.
Right.
Modeling your game after Sabonis in recreation basketball is like a 40-year-old men's play style.
Sad truth. Sad truth. That's really what it was.
Yeah, it was tough, man.
I could
Them
not
be the
shoot.
ones that know how to play the most, though.
You know what?
Mentally
If
sound.
that's the case, I'm going to go 2022 Draymond then. If that's going to make me sound better in your guys' eyes. Because I was still playing with high energy on defense.
Yeah.
Had double-digit boards. But we got no bruisers, man. If I'm the tallest and biggest bruiser on the team, we got a fucking problem.
You got Frank next year, right?
Praying to God.
You've made some adjustments to the team. He essentially came to your team, and now he's GMing it too.
Yes, that ass.
Hey, man,
He said, "I got 2 heads. We about to bring him on."
He's the GM, but I'm the one that got to tell people who gets cut and stuff like that.
I make him make the tough decisions.
So I'm just
Do
here.
you have the cuts in mind already?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't hard to think about.
No, not at all. Actually, I told him pretty clearly who's getting cut.
One of the cuts that he wants to make is a guy that I'll ride for.
He's getting cut.
He's been one of the heart and souls of the team this year.
He's like he plays hard for sure. He just doesn't.
Yeah, he's a young Steve Novak.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We can use better,
Young Steve Novak is such a comp.
That's his comp. There's no way around it. He can shoot the basketball. His defense is all right.
This is why he pisses me off because we tell him to shoot. Like you have the green light when you shoot, right? So if you have the green light when you shoot, Joel, every time you get it, you're gonna shoot it, right?
I'm a shoot.
I'm open.
Yeah.
Okay, this is his problem. He gets it. He wants to go to the basket.
Put the ball on the floor.
Put the ball on the floor. And, brother, man, it either ends up a turnover or it's an air ball. And we just can't have that. Just shoot the fucking ball. So that's why I get upset at him. And he has, like, quicksand feet when we're on defense. So it's pretty bad. Look, it's a difference between can't play in D and don't want to play defense.
Yeah, that's why I mean that distinction pretty clear.
Sometimes I don't want to play defense, but he just can't. Like, if we lock it, he can't.
I was forced to playing defense that entire second half, and I was dead tired.
You guys got locking on defense, man. You guys are 0-6 for a
Don't
reason.
hit me with you guys, all right? I'm turning to the me guy here. I play fucking defense.
The me guy.
You got to get the rest of the team play defense, man. You want to be 2022 Draymond. Come on, you got to energize the guys.
Yo, that's another thing, bro. They took me out of the center of the defense, and they had me on the wings.
You got to stop saying that.
Listen, now he doesn't want to be team captain anymore.
I don't do subs.
Who does subs?
What kind of coach is he?
I'm not a coach. Nobody.
Yo, that's also the shit that pissed me off, and I told him this shit yesterday. I say, how the fuck can you be one of the most vocal guys I've ever met, but we're on a basketball court, this guy won't say a fucking
He has said
word.
that to me before, too.
What?
That you're not vocal on the court.
Dehls, we sub by position. Nobody subs me out. Him, Seb, Ruben, sometimes KJ. They sub each other. They have that because they're the bigs. Why would I tell you come out? That's not my position. I don't do that.
You don't have a backup like one?
No, you do not.
But
or if we do, it gets really bad when I come out the game.
Yeah, the only other backup we have would be, what, Oz? Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Oz isn't a bad player. He isn't a bad player by any means. He's just not a great ball handler.
Is he one of the cuts?
I don't think so. Honestly, he probably is. Yeah,
he might be. He might be. Unfortunately, I would have liked to keep him.
Me too.
It's kind of a situation where he just has to go.
My ball handling was fake good yesterday.
If he's allegedly saying Frank and Tyler are going to come on the team, so we have to make spots.
Yeah,
true.
Yo, my ball handling. Give me some praise. Wasn't bad yesterday. Shit got me hype. I was dribbling with the right. I said, I heard you, Drew.
MVP of the team just didn't show up.
Nah, OD. Tragic.
Damn.
I couldn't shoot. I was tired. I couldn't shoot.
Did you try to get to the rim?
Yeah. I had a few. I had an and one.
Okay.
I had a couple of layups. I did not score yesterday. I scored, but it just wasn't the same way because I wasn't hitting my jumpers.
We had 50 points. Our star scorers didn't step up to
What's
the
your
plate.
typical?
Me or Riv.
What do you guys typically score?
Me and Riv have usually around double digits.
I think I only had double digits.
No, I'm saying like your team
First game,
total.
No, we usually around like 50.
The total. The thing is, our main score is usually combined for like 50.
Nah.
And then we'll have like 60.
Yep.
So it's like, but yesterday we only had like 50 points. So it's like.
Now we were struggling. It was bad.
Let's start off these grades, gentlemen. I'm looking at the teams here.
How many teams do we have left? 12?
We have 11 teams left. Let's get the ones that might be the quickest out the way.
Okay.
We'll start with the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
How do you fellas feel about the Orlando Magic this season?
All right.
How do you feel? You thought the Nets would be better. They're not. So talk to me. What's your grade? Let's start
the Nets
with you.
have been so bad this year. I think everybody at this point is thinking they would have been a bit better than what they've been. They've been disappointing.
I had them as a play-in.
Oh, 11
excuse me. I had them as a lottery.
As a play-in lottery, but a team that will be competitive and a team that will fight, that will play defense.
They lost
have
by
not
like
done
50
that.
last night.
You know what that makes? Now that we get back to that, I remember how many people called me stupid, called me dumb for saying that they would be a lottery team in this offseason.
Who told you that?
Just Twitter. When I put it on Twitter, listen, I'm not saying you called me dumb.
It was
you
only
called me stupid.
27. My apologies.
But the fact of how many
Felt
people
like
were
50.
brought in on
They
Brooklyn
did lose by
early
50
in the
though.
season was crazy.
Now I'm talking about
To the Celtics, they lost by
Yes.
50. Yeah.
the image of them coming into the season. You at least expected some semblance of defense, and they never played defense.
Definitely the
but-
defensive side.
That's
you
fair.
thought
Yeah. That's
it'd be
fair.
better.
And I noticed that last podcast episode that we did the grades, we didn't even do the Nets. I skipped past the Nets, and I didn't do that intentionally. But
It should have been Bulls, Nets. Well, obviously we do it in alphabetical
exactly.
order.
But I forgot about them, and quite frankly, just to tie two grades into one, the Orlando Magic for what they've been this year, I think they've been at a B plus. The
Fair.
Brooklyn Nets, I mean, this has been an F.
Yep.
This has been a disaster for them.
Terrible.
It's been D minus, teetering on F, if you want to give them that respect. But really, there's very little to look forward to. JC, who's a Nets fan, he was talking to me, and he was saying, I don't even watch Nets games no more.
Crying.
I seen this dude watch Nets games when players, the most obscure players, played for them. Sean Kilpatrick started as shooting guard for them, and he's done. And this team got more talent than those teams, but that just speaks to how much he's done as a fan.
It's pretty sad because when we talked about the Chicago Bulls, I feel like everything you could say about Chicago is the exact same thing you could say about the Brooklyn Nets. The difference between the two is that the Chicago Bulls have the star player, have the rising star in a Kobe White, or ascending player, I should say. Don't know about star yet, but Kobe White obviously has shown some strong flashes this season. But you look at the Brooklyn Nets, they didn't decide to make any moves or significant moves at the trade deadline. I know they moved Royce O'Neal, but at the same time, you had offers for not just Mikal, but of course you understand that you're not going to get much better value for Mikal or Dorian Finney-Smith when allegedly you were offered, 2 first-round picks for him? And obviously we see that didn't transpire. I think that they've just handled their situation as bad as it gets. You had, at one time, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and you gave up on it before you really gave it any type of chance to blossom and turn into something great. And now here you are sitting at one of the worst teams in the league. And by a standard where I understand they're not record-wise with the groups of the Pistons, with the Hornets, with the Wizards, but at the same time, with the fact that at least I know those teams' directions, I feel much worse about Brooklyn Nets right now.
Yeah, the Nets are pretty easily an F for me as well. Like you said, Drew, it just feels like there's no direction. You could have, like you said, be a Hornets or Wizards. Like, we know you're rebuilding. The Nets, I don't think they know what they're doing either, because they've had opportunities to pick a side, whether it's going towards a rebuild or going towards, contention. But they're just stuck in the middle. They don't want to move off their guys. They don't really want to trade for any other players too.
I like that because you said pick side.
Oh, I don't have the headphones on. I didn't hear. But yeah, they're an F because, just overall, Jacques Vaughn get fired. The vibes around the team seem low. You have diehard fans who don't ever want to watch the team. That's not just JC. I see other Nets fans on Twitter just say,
exist?
I did. I saw, I forget, the big Nets Twitter page. I forgot what their name is, but they basically said, like, it's so sad because the first 30 games, they thought the Nets were like one of the more fun watches in the NBA. And they said over the last 25 games, they're the most boring team in the league. And this was like a Nets fan page, like 50,000 followers.
They were bought in on Cam Thomas. That's really what it was.
I guess that's what it is. Talk about the Magic, though. I think B+ is perfect. To start off the year, they were super hot, right? I think they were as high as a 2 seed at one point. They beat Boston. They had some good games in the play-in, if I'm remembering correctly. And it did seem like they were overachieving a bit at the beginning. So you see them now at the 7 seed, which, to be fair, they were half game out of the 5 seed. It's a huge step in the right direction for them. This is what we were expecting coming into the season, where it's like, at the minimum, you should be a play-in team. But if you're able to be a playoff lock and get to that 6th or 5th seed, you should feel like this is a home run type of season. The way Paolo's been playing, Franz, Jalen Suggs, really go down the list. There isn't a ton of guys, even like guys like Goga Batanze, and you have guys like Mo Wagner, who's been a tremendous backup big for them. It's really hard to find a dude on that team who's been like a complete disappointment, like maybe Jet Howard, but just really hasn't played too much. So overall for the Magic, if you're a Magic fan, I think you have to be ecstatic about the season and the direction for the franchise. You have draft capital going forward. It feels like you're starting to get into rumors to acquire possibly a star player down the road to kind of accelerate this rebuild anymore. So I know you might look at the standings right now and you're like, we're the 7th seed. We used to be the 2 seed. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a great step towards your rebuild.
And I feel like as I'm sitting here listening to you guys, my original grade was going to be an A-, but I understand B+, A-, it's such a small difference. But I don't know, as I sit here and listen to you guys, if I can lean to giving them any type of A- for that idea that they have fallen off a little bit. They are in the play-in, but understanding they are a young team, and that's kind of why my mind immediately went to an A- for them taking that leap, being a top 5 defense in terms of defensive rating. We understand that the offense lags behind. They still don't have shooting. That was a current concern this offseason. They still haven't addressed it yet. So for that to be the case, they tried in terms of drafting Jet Howard, but like you already mentioned, he really doesn't play that much. It's been great to see Jalen Suggs take a leap in that regard. Wendell Carter has been really great for them as a shooter, of course, at the big position.
Jonathan Isaac, too, I didn't even mention.
That's a fact.
When he's healthy, he's one of the best defenders in the NBA.
Getting him healthy has been huge for their defense, too. You understand his defensive impact. Really, that's their identity, how great of a defense they are. But I'll stand pat with my grade. I'll go A- because they are youthful. They are they have one of the more young cores in the league with Jalen Suggs, Paolo, and of course Franz Wagner. So I expect this team by the end of the year to flirt around that 5-6, because we do see some teams that are a little bit injured in front of them. Majority of the 76ers, God willing, the Knicks get healthy, but right now we see that without those guys, they don't look like that same team. I do anticipate that they do get healthy, but it's starting to become a real concern. Yeah. I'd be lying to say if it wasn't a concern for me, but given how young the Orlando Magic is, I'm going to stay strong on my opinion. A- for them. No
Andrew Wiggins is dealing with the personal matter. They don't know when he's going to be back.
I've seen that already, but we have Kuminga. We're good. The Nets get F. If I was able to give the Nets a no grade, I would give them a no grade.
And you see,
not applicable.
You saw the NFL report cards came out. They gave out F minuses. I would give the Nets an F- if we could do that.
I would give them a 0. I mean, it's been completely embarrassing what they've been showing. I mean, this is a team that traded 2 first-round picks for Royce O'Neal and got back nothing and sent them to Phoenix. I mean, that's a bit of an L if you ask me. You know, this is a team that had Bridges on the block. They could have traded him, could have restarted, could have moved Cam Johnson. You decided to pay him. Tried this Ben Simmons experience that didn't last long.
Respect him.
No, I won't. I want it. I want it all. You don't have your pick this year, so you're pretty much you're not even. It's not even that you're tanking. You're just not good.
Yeah, no.
So the fact that you're not good, you don't have your pick. Now you have to sit here. You have to probably make moves in the offseason, which once again, we're probably going to say this offseason, you have guys that you can move that you could have probably been moved. But if you chose to be competitive with this team is just not good. Defensively, we did think they'd be better, but no, they fired their coach. They now have a bunch of good players on a bad team. The culture over there is not structured. Cam Thomas, he's probably their one lone young player that has potential, but they didn't even utilize him right. So the Nets get an F. There's just been a disappointment of a season. I didn't think they'd be good coming in. They haven't been good.
Would you count Mikal as a young player?
He's 27, turning 28. He might be 28, so no.
27, that's pretty young.
He's not a rising young player.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, he's like, that's his prime.
He's 27, turning 28 in August.
That's his prime.
Kind of entering.
He's in his prime. Yeah, so no.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, but for the Orlando,
I'm trying to be nice now.
Orlando, I think we can hover around the B plus. I think that they do struggle with their offense. They're one of the worst efficient offenses in the league. They don't hit the 3-ball well. The spacing is very muddy out there. But you've seen leaps from Boncaro. You've seen leaps from Suggs. You've seen leaps from Wagner. You've seen leaps from all your players. It's just about getting a team that can really function around each other and have a better offense. But defensively in the half court, they're one of the best defenses in the league. They're connected. The continuity is there. 1 through 5, they're in sync. And while Isaac's on the floor, they're probably the number 1 defense. He is that good of a defender. And everybody from 1 through 5 plays defense. So that's something you like to see from a young team, especially a team this young, because young teams typically don't play defense this well early on. And this team is showing that they can. The defense realistically is the reason why they've been, they've been competitive in the East. And yeah, they dropped from 2nd to 7th seed, but I don't think that's a big deal in the grand scheme of things. This is a team that just wanted to be competitive. They wanted to shoot for the play-in, possibly a lock, and they've done that. So I'll give them a B+.
The next team is the Indiana Pacers. I'm giving them a B. Tyrese Halliburton's injury is a big reason for that because man, in the months of October and November, what Tyrese Halliburton was doing was generational.
Steve Nash.
He was looking like, yeah, he's still doing it pretty much, if we just compare numbers. But, yeah, Halliburton was just flat out sensational. The Pacers were one of the best teams in the East, and they added Pascal Siakam. I think there's been a little bit of a learning curve there. But this team gets a B for me because I expected them to be in this position. As long as Tyrese is healthy, This team last season showed they were a team that could command a playoff spot. This year they're showing something similar, and I haven't seen the leaps that I would want from Benedict Mathurin. Jarvis Walker not playing has been a little bit disappointing, and I do think there are some nights where the Pascal Siakam impact should be greater than what they've been getting as of now. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a B. I think they're in a good direction, but I do worry about the ceiling of this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. They match up, or they've had great matchups with the Bucks. I don't know if in a playoff setting, since Tyrese isn't playing at that all NBA level that he was early in the season. Really, since 2024, a big part of it has to do with his injury. He just hasn't been the same dude. I mean, to start off the year, he was averaging, I have the numbers, in November, he was averaging damn near 29-11. January, that went down to 18 and 12 basically. In February, through 11 games, 16 and 8.5. The efficiency's still been really solid, but he hasn't been that same, one of the best point guards, if not the best point guard in the NBA to start those first couple months of the season. So if you don't have Tyrese playing at that super high level, I have a hard time thinking that you're going to get past Milwaukee in the first round. But I think a B is a fair grade. The way that Tyrese was able to play to start off the season shows you the ceiling he has, shows you that this is a guy that can be an engine of an offense and can, control and lead one of the best offenses in basketball. And adding Pascal Siakam in the middle of the season, I do think hasn't been maybe the easiest adjustment to the team overall in terms of just win-loss record. Of course, again, Tyrese being injured is going to change everything. You also had Buddy Hield getting traded. So just a lot of moving parts on a team that's overall still relatively young when you look at guys like him, Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard. So I think there's a lot of different pieces that still have to fit here. This, I don't think anyone's expecting to be the year they take this leap into like winning a playoff series or making an ECF run. But overall, for what they've been through injury-wise and kind of player transaction-wise, I think they have to be pretty happy. They're sitting at the 6th seed right now, I believe.
8th seed right now.
8th seed. Oh, my apologies. Oh, it's like a half
so
game,
close.
right? Yeah.
It's 5 through 8 are literally a half game.
Right. So, any given night they can move off 5, 6, 7, 8. But they'll be around that play-in. If they get into that playoff lock spot, that'd be good for them too. But overall, I think you just have to be happy because you have an absolute dude in Tyrese Haliburton.
You want to go, Riff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I have a B, but it's a pending B because I think, you mentioned it, 5 to 8 is really close. And I think if they don't make the playoffs, that would be an extremely, it would be a failure of a season, especially with getting Siakam in the middle of the season, having a high generator. Like, this offense can produce. Like, when Hallie's been out, they still were able to produce some numbers. Rick has been able to scheme up a great game plan. Over the last 20 games, Hallie hasn't been the same. He's been dealing with some injuries, hasn't been his same aggression. His last 20, he's averaging, like you mentioned, that was 17 and 10. So he's been still the playmaking god that he is, but the scoring hasn't been the same as you want it to be. Even some of the games where he's not shooting he's not being as aggressive as you want to be, he's still efficient. But I think this team, as like their offense is so good that they can score on damn near anybody. But it's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs look. And I think them hovering around the 6, 7, 8, they get into a play-in. Orlando's a tough matchup for them. They've struggled with them. So I think Indiana, I'll give them a B because they played well. They've made that modest jump into a respectable team in the East. But if they don't, if they drop out into the play-in and they don't win the play-in, that's why I give it a pending grade.
This could be one of those teams that we look at and start to say advanced numbers. How much do they really mean for the idea of they have one of the league's best offenses right now, sitting at number 2 offensive rating. But then we go and we look at their defense. We know that their defense is not that good. Right now they rank 26. But I say that in due part to they have one of the best offenses we've seen in league history, right? Because that's just kind of how offensive rating has trended over these recent years. But they're right now sitting at the 8th seed. We understand that it could flip-flop, of course, because of how close 5 through 8 are. But it's interesting because you already mentioned how Tyrese Haliburton hasn't been that same aggressive offensive scorer. We understand he's still a great playmaker. That'll never get taken away from him. But why they decided to mess around the team as much as they did at the trade deadline was pretty interesting to me. It shocked me that Buddy Hield was traded mid-season. I thought that'd be something that they'd take care of in the offseason, understanding that they were playing extremely efficient on the offensive side of the ball, one of the better three-point shooting teams, and obviously Buddy Hield does help that. But you do bring in Pascal Siakam. That's an obvious upgrade. And just statistically, he's been playing very well for them. He's been shooting over 55% from the field, shooting over 40%, of course, limited attempts, but 40% from 3, and giving you essentially the same output that he was giving you with the Raptors in terms of playmaking and, of course, rebounding the basketball. But this team is tricky to look at because I do look at this defense and do see it as a genuine concern. I feel like it's boring, but it's the truth. This is around the B minus range. But given the fact they are the second best offense, I'll stand firm on giving them a firm B because having one of the best, most efficient offenses in basketball is not easy to do, and the Pacers have been that for essentially the entire season.
This next team, the New Orleans Pelicans, I feel like they're not too far off with the Pacers, but the grade is for me. I think in terms of their direction and identity, they're pretty similar in terms of where they're contending for in their respective conferences. I'm kind of flirting with an A- here with the Pelicans.
Ballnor. That's exactly what I have.
All the teams in the West are over. The Kings, the Mavericks, the Lakers, the Warriors. I don't think anybody expected that coming into the season. The Suns are another one. And while the numbers don't blow you away with Zion, when he does run point guard, they run some of the most efficient offense in the league. He's averaging 22, 5, and 5. He's taking less shots than Brandon Ingram and averaging more than him. He's leading the team. And then you have leaps from Herb Jones shooting 43% from 3. Jordan Hawkins is giving them some good production as a rookie, shooting 37% from 3. I mean, this team is an A-. I do think there is a looming question with them in regards to, how long we will see the Brandon Ingram and Zion dynamic. But for what it is right now, I think you can't ask for much more.
I say this every single time we talk about the Pelicans. This is a team that's really they're viewed in the idea of jokes greater than facts because of Zion and everything that looms around him. But understanding that this team is just obviously so much better than that, and you kind of underappreciate Zion's game because he isn't this head just every time he has the basketball, driving to the paint, head down, just trying to get to the rim and obviously finish, because we understand he does have that body type. He does have that in his arsenal. Because we've seen it, 26 points per game on 60% shooting from the field for a season. It's unfortunate that he's not that same player, but he understands, given his situation, he has to adjust his style of play. To me, that kind of speaks to how versatile he is, and I give him a bonus for that. Would like to see him be more aggressive. Not saying that's not the case, but understanding that he still has a strong impact on the court by, like you mentioned, taking less shots than his number two and averaging more points per game than him. I do look at this defense overall as the main reason why it is so great. Right now, second in steals per game, fifth fewest points allowed in the paint, fifth fewest points allowed in transition, eighth fewest points allowed off second chance points. And then you already mentioned the role players. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, who's kind of been lagging behind in terms of shooting, but Herb Jones has legitimately put himself into probably not just Defensive Player of the Year, but a lock for All-NBA defensive team. His jump shooting the basketball, he's really turned himself into arguably the best role player in basketball, and I mean that truthfully. You add to the fact of CJ McCollum and his identity change where he's become this elite three-point shooter. At the time of where I wrote down my notes, he was shooting 42% from three on 8 attempts a game. That's crazy. I mean, you look at just all the input that they're getting all around, Ingram's playmaking ability, Zion's playmaking ability. I look at this Pelicans team and think they are the most underappreciated team in the league. And right now they sit at the 5th seed, and this is in a Western Conference that's stacked. But there they are as a lock right now to make the playoffs as we stand. I'm flirting with an A, truthfully. I really feel that confident about them. They've been one of the biggest surprises of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm right around probably B+, A- range for the Pelicans. I do get kind of 2023 Kings vibes with this team, that they're a great regular season team. I think they're, of course, 5th seed right now. You guys mentioned the teams they're above, but in terms of a playoff setting, when that comes around, it's hard for me to find a team in the West that they match up with that I legitimately think they have a chance of beating, even really a puncher's chance, because I still feel like they kind of lack an identity. I don't think there's a specific area offensively or defensively. They are a great three-point shooting team that they could really lock in and dominate on. And the other point, I would shout out to Rudy. She just dropped a new podcast. We were talking about the Pelicans because he had them as they're his biggest frauds in the West. And we were trying to figure out who is the perfect number 2 next to Zion. Because I have kind of a hard time trying to figure out who that number 2 is. I think most people, or there's already been rumors about Brandon Ingram potentially getting moved this offseason. It's kind of hard to put Zion next to a big, especially a big that can't shoot. That doesn't feel like a good spot. And you can't really pair him with like a guard or like a traditional point guard, like a Damian Lillard, for example, because he's been so great as the point guard, as the primary ball handler. So that's really the biggest question I think the Pelicans are going to have going forward is, I do think Zion is still going to be this building block, especially because he's been relatively healthy this season, especially compared to previous years.
Oh, yeah.
And you have a bunch of great role players like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones and CJ McCollum, and the list goes on and on. But who is going to be really that number 2 next to Zion that could kind of get you over the hump? Right now, it feels like there's not a perfect pairing. Maybe one of you guys have a name in mind that I'm not thinking of. But in terms of
every time I think of someone like that, Trae Young's the first person that comes to mind.
You described Trae Young as fuck.
Literally, it's Trae Young. It's immediate.
Yeah.
If Trae Young and Zion were to play together, it would be viral.
But again, I just don't know if that's like, it's a needle mover. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, does that make you a finals contender? It's tough.
Would you trade Brandon Ingram and picks for Trae Young in 2 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Wouldn't think twice about it.
I agree.
But now you're playing
trade
Zion off ball more now? Or you're playing Trae off ball more now?
No, you play Zion off ball more.
Play a lot of pick and roll.
But he's just been great. He's been so great with the ball in his hands.
I agree, but what you want Zion to be is that dominant paint force.
I want her to be my point guard, I'll be honest.
That's why I
don't
feel like
blame
Trae's
you.
kind
I want
of a
Zion to
weird
be
fit.
I don't blame you. I don't blame
There's
you
just
at
so
all.
much evidence overwhelmingly
Yes.
favoring him playing that
Point
type
guard.
of role.
I agree.
Just playing a point forward role. And having spacing
It
around
does
him.
play. It
I
does
think,
translate.
I think
to
until
winning.
we see it with like actual spacing, we don't know how what's the ceiling of it.
What do you mean by actual spacing? Because they kind of have it.
No, I'm saying like So maybe like this year they've had better spacing than before, but maybe going into the playoffs, if we can see them make a run with it, then we can say, all right, now this is a legit thing. Zion point forward. Now let's get somebody, because I don't think Brandon Ingram's a bad player, and I think he's a guy, a 3-level scorer, a guy who's a good playmaker. He's just not a defensive player, but he's been playing better defense this year. I don't know what a number 2 next to him. I'm assuming if you don't want a guard who's going to dominate the ball, you would expect a wing, but wings dominate the ball too. So who would it realistically? It's not going to be a big. So who would you be asking for to be a number 2 next to Zion? You would need to be. It would have to be a 1A, 1B type thing.
I think Brandon Ingram is a fantastic player. I do think that he is best in a role where he can be free. I think in New Orleans, it's always between him and Zion. They're playing off each other. And I don't know if he's able to find a consistent rhythm doing that. I think when Brandon Ingram has been at his best when he's had to command the offense, and that's when we've seen, months and stretches where he's averaged 29 and 8, and he's looked like a true star. I think the perfect role for Brandon Ingram is the situation that Tatum is in right now, where you get to be that guy for an offense and you get to play free. Now Tatum's playing with better players, so it's not to that extent. But I think that's what Brandon Ingram's perfect role is. And I think with Zion, it's just not going to happen. And I think Zion with Ingram plays more off the ball, so he's not being maximized either. The Trae Young and Zion pairing is fascinating because I feel like that would be a modern-day Chris Paul and Blake Griffin pairing.
That's a great comparison. Yeah. But I wouldn't be mad at it either.
Blake got some touches down low.
Blake was so good. Yeah. He was so good. Okay, no response from him either. No, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I thought you guys were going to say something.
No,
what's your Pels grade?
We were letting you finish your Pels grade.
Have you given your Pels grade?
Finish.
Well, I did. I gave it in the beginning.
Yeah.
He did. He said A-.
I said I'm flirting on A.
You were going on my fault. Give it an A for the way they've been playing.
Absolutely.
The Pelicans, and I think I tweeted this a while ago. I was like, the Pelicans are like the most quiet 5th, top 5 seed I've ever seen in my life.
They're lit.
Nobody has spoken about them. Nobody is talking about them. They've quietly just been winning games. They lose a couple here and there, but they've just been consistently in that 5 to 6, 7 range this whole season, and nobody has spoken about them.
Do you think nobody spoke about them because nobody believes they can make a playoff?
100%. I think but even then the Kings were spoken about last year, and nobody believed the Kings can win the playoff series.
They didn't make the playoffs in 25 years.
Who?
The Kings.
That's a good point. The story was definitely
they were also,
behind
I think, a more dominant regular season team than the Pels have been.
But Indiana gets talked about a lot this year.
In the beginning of the season,
but
yes.
I also feel like that's also in due part to certain personalities. Like you see the way that Tyrese Halliburton has kind of been promoted.
And I just think it's been more negative energy in New Orleans as opposed to actually the Zion stuff.
Yeah.
And then
I know.
It's been more of that than actually paying attention. All right, let's see what this basketball team's about.
The Pelicans admin has been cooking Stephen A.
They have.
The ratios are not
He's
close.
a legend. No, the admin is goated.
Yeah, the ratios are not close.
No, they dogged him.
Not close.
He tried the rebuttal. It just didn't work. It
was
like
a 10-minute video.
What did he say? He said, "Thanks. Sorry about that. I don't know what it was."
He's like, I ain't watching all that. Sorry.
Sorry,
good for you though.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. But yeah, I give the Pelicans an 8. Man, they've been hooping.
I think that the amount of likes it got on it was over 178,000 when I last saw. And Stephen A's initial 10-minute video had 3,000 likes.
Who do you guys think the Pelicans could beat in the first round? Well, out the West, who do you guys think the Pelicans be like? Who do they match up well with, and who do you think they can beat? Because I think they match up with a few teams,
they match up well with the Clippers
for sure. I think they match up well with the Kings.
They're not going to play the Kings in the first round.
Yeah, Dallas. I think they match up well with Dallas
in the first round.
Yeah, they can.
They'd have to get to a top 4 seed.
Well, right now they're 5.
Correct.
It's not that bad.
They're not far off.
Do you think the Pels are going to jump the
Why
Clippers?
Are you always so?
No, he's mad negative on the middling team.
I wouldn't say negative. He's just very I'm
1,000% honest because nobody at this table has ever said that another team is jumping into the top 4 until this very moment.
It's not crazy.
It's not impossible.
It's right there.
What's unlikely?
It's because you're a Boston fan. You have the 7-game gap, so you think all these other teams have the gap.
Well, no, because I just don't think you have ever said once on this podcast that the Pelicans can jump into the top 4.
3.5 games.
No, I don't think so.
3.5 games.
But what I'm saying, I've seen the Pelicans play certain, they've owned the Clippers this year. That's why I'm saying, like, what teams do you think they can match
they
up
can
in?
beat Kawhi?
No, I don't
in the
think
playoff
that.
series?
No. But I'm saying
That's why I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
I'm
It's
just
the truth, I
asking,
think.
who do you think they can match up with? Who you think? You said nobody. I thought that was a little crazy. You said like nobody.
I don't think there's a single team in the top 4 seeds they could take to 7 games.
The
No.
West is
Maybe
pretty
OKC?
wide open.
No.
The Timberwolves are handling them like as
Yes.
4 games, not
No,
even thinking twice about it.
Probably 5. I just don't think 7. I think 5, 6 possibly.
You think OKC beats them in 5
That's what
games?
I'm wondering too.
5 or 6? Yeah.
OKC beats them in 5
They are
games.
under their defense.
Why do you
is
think-
I really do.
fire.
Why do you think that?
I don't think they have the dudes to compete in a 7-game series against the top 4 teams.
What,
The top 4 teams
what gives you the confidence OKC has the dudes?
Because SGA is more dominant than every player they have.
And you don't think the Pelicans match up against? Like,
I think
they have
I think they do match up. They have a
Herb
lot
on
of
SGA.
They have a lot of 2-way players. They have
And
shooting.
who's
I
guarding
get
Zion?
that.
That's the real question.
Zion's gonna be tough.
Who's guarding Bi?
Ludor is probably your best bet.
He has to guard Zion.
Who? That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jalen Williams is probably gonna be on Bi.
It's a tough matchup. I'm
is.
But they
saying
can both
it's a-
defend.
It's a good matchup. I'm saying I wouldn't just. And I love OKC, but I
not
wouldn't just
watching.
throw them like say they can just
Everyone's
outright
falling
destroy
off
the Pelicans.
OKC.
They
so
are
quick.
falling off.
Man.
I wouldn't say.
Sad.
I
I'm
just
not-
think people are
Like, I'm sorry,
pushing
if-
them against like a further in front of teams. But I don't think they've earned that right yet.
But
They're the
now we're
second seed
questioning
in the West.
We're questioning if they get out the first
They kind
round.
of earned something.
okay, if you had out of all those 4 teams, you would think OKC is the first team that can get eliminated in the first round.
Out of those 4, I think that's fair.
Even though Minnesota's offense has kind of been a little lackluster.
It's them or Minnesota, to be fair.
I trust Minnesota's defense. I think Minnesota is geared up. They have a playoff defense.
They do have a really great.
I think
defense.
OKC in certain matchups can get exploited. You know, they don't have a backup big. They play a little bit too small at times. You know, and their star players rely on the mid range a lot. So, but you know, it's tough. I'm not saying I would pick the Pelicans. I don't know if I just sweep them away and say they'll just get
No,
dominated.
I wouldn't either.
You know, I think they can match up against a few teams.
I mean, last 15 games, the Pelicans' defense has been pretty solid. 6 defensive rating, but offensively, they've fallen off a bit. They're 18.
I feel.
Staying on the subject that you brought up with OKC, I think it's an interesting point because they are often the team that people think is the most fraudulent within the top 4 of the West.
least
They
experience,
can't
for sure,
make
that's
it
why.
as far as the
Are we
other
going to talk about
teams.
Minnesota being the most fraudulent, or we won't do that?
Well, if you want to say that, you
I'm
can,
going
but
honest.
we'll talk about them after OKC.
All right, fair enough.
With the Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, this grade is an A+ for the
Absolutely.
season. That's what they get.
Absolutely.
But speaking to that point about trusting them in the playoffs, listen, I do, and I think that the West is so tough that it's hard to pick one team you feel like is the most fraudulent because I don't think there's any team in the top 4 that's fraudulent in the Western Conference. I think they're all elite level teams that can make a playoff run, and it's about when you get hot.
Even your Minnesota boys.
Even Minnesota, yes. Anthony Edwards is averaging 30 in the month of February.
elite. He's
He's
elite.
kicking it up
I'm
because
sure
he knows.
I would never question Anthony
It's coming
Edwards.
into playoff
I would
time.
never
So
question
who are you
Anthony.
questioning?
I don't
Cat?
know, man. Just maybe the supporting cast.
Jalen Brown.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, Jaden McDaniels?
Shit.
I mean, listen, if Dehls
By the way,
spread
Kuminga won that poll.
Dehls can spread that.
No, it
but,
wasn't close.
Wasn't close.
I was
at all.
shocked.
What was the?
I had I put
Kuminga
up a
versus
poll.
McGinnis?
Kuminga versus, and I thought it'd be closer. It was like an 80-20
Damn.
washing.
But with
Yeah.
OKC, I trust OKC, and I think they're going to be a great team. I think SGA is going to play like a superstar. Listen, SGA is a superstar 100%.
Easy.
Absolutely.
And
Locked.
I don't care that he has not accomplished or won as much as other players. I will easily put him over those set players because I think his skill set is rare. The
Including
efficiency, I think he's better than Jason Tatum. Like in a vacuum, player for player, SGA is better than Jason Tatum, and it's quite frankly, it's not even close.
Oh my,
like it's not even close. It's not even close.
No, I'm done.
No, it's not
No,
even close.
No, you know what?
It's not even
Stop,
close.
Stop. Stop. I
SGA
can't-
is
I
way
can't
better
take
than
this.
Jason
No,
Tatum.
No, no,
It's
no,
not
I can't
even
do this.
close.
It's like funny. You know what I'm
not
saying?
even
Like, I
close.
can't even take it serious.
It's the fact that I gotta be a Tatum defender. That's how bad it gets, bro. It's not even close.
It's not even close.
This is why I hate new fans. I can't.
What do you mean, new fans?
Uh-oh.
It's not. It's
SGA's
not
gonna get-
my fault that you
Drew.
fell off on SGA.
Drew,
I've been
this-
telling you
Drew-
SGA was a superstar since last
Drew,
year.
this is what's gonna happen. SGA, love him to death. Been a fan of him forever.
I know.
He's gonna go into the playoffs, and if he has a stinker, the world is gonna turn his back on him.
They are.
and I
yeah?
hate that for him. He's
I do
gonna
too.
get. I hate it for him. I really
I
do.
believe in him that he can.
I
go
believe
in there
in
and
him
dog.
too. And I love my brother to death. But to say right now with a straight face that he clears Tatum like it's not even close is ridiculous.
He's a much better player.
I don't think- he's
that's
not a
just
much better
fact.
player. It's
And
not a fact.
It's
It's not a fact.
The
That's
same
not a
breath
fact.
that you're creating a scenario where
not a fact.
SGA walks into the playoffs and does not
I didn't
play
even
to
create
his
a
standard.
scenario.
Yes, you are. You're basically telling
you
us to
did.
live in a
You did.
hypothetical
You
where
said
he
if
doesn't play well.
Riv,
But I
you
said no. I said,
you
but
said
I
if he
said I
plays
believe.
bad.
I said there is a world
agreed.
for sure.
Yes.
But at the same time,
Do you think the world will exist? Do you think that will happen?
No, I just said-
Or do
I
you
just-
think he will be a superstar in the playoffs? As much as you're saying it can happen that they could be upset. OKC can make the conference finals. They can make the NBA finals.
They can.
They're that good.
I don't know.
Yes,
Tatum's
OKC
been
is
doing
that
that
good.
for years.
I
Tatum's
don't
been
know.
doing that years.
This is
in a row.
SGA's
If
first
they play
great team. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna be honest with you. If they play Denver, I don't have a
chance.
single
Listen,
faith
they
that
They don't have a
chance.
chance?
How about you hear me
No.
out on
That's
this?
crazy.
Can you hear me out on
That's
this?
crazy.
They don't have
Hold
a
on.
chance.
Before you go,
Respectfully,
Drew.
Who is stopping Joker? Who? What?
They don't
What
match
do
up
they
against
have?
Denver.
Who's
to throw at the
stopping
Joker?
SGA?
What the fuck are we doing?
What do you
Comparing
mean?
SGA to playoff Joker? Stop.
SGA is
Stop.
averaging 30.
Joker is a
Who's
walk-on.
guarding
Michael
him?
Jordan-esque stats.
The
That's how
Joker,
Joker
is
is
the
guarding him.
historically great
the Joker
player.
is the most
Yes, he's
dominant
OD.
player
Yes,
in the
he's
league
OD.
in
Yes,
the playoffs
he's
right
OD.
now.
He
You
is.
are comparing
Yes, he
somebody
is.
who has yet to touch that ground at this
It's not
level
even close.
to the Joker. Stop. Enough
As
with
an
that.
offensive
Stop.
engine, they're
Sometimes
two
that
completely
shit-
different
He's
players.
averaging 30 points this season,
I
but
mean,
to compare him to
Joel,
the Joker is
Riv,
crazy
no,
right now.
sometimes you
Joel,
get
he's
ridiculous.
right. He's
It's-
right.
no,
Listen,
that's
no,
ridiculous.
because this is my gripe with what you're saying. Nobody said that Joker is not who he is. I know, I understand who Nikola Jokic is. I know that Nikola Jokic, if he wins a championship, is going to be a top 15 player ever.
He'll dominate that series
Nikola
versus the
Jokic-
Thunder is what he's
Yes,
saying.
I know, but listen up. This is what I'm saying. Nikola Jokic is a top 20 player in NBA history.
100%.
He's that good.
That's what
I
I'm
understand
saying.
how great Nikola Jokic is.
Yes.
You said who's guarding Jokic,
And your rebuttal was who's
my
guarding-
rebuttal
is that
was
they're gonna
who's guarding
match up.
SGA. What do you mean?
But that is a different. It's a different conversation.
Maybe
Not
maybe
even
if you were
close,
just
actually.
looking at historical context, but if you're looking at this season, SGA has been more productive than Nikola Jokic. This year, SGA has been number one in
The Joker's
EPM.
about to win MVP.
He's top
Not
4 in
EPM.
PER. What do you mean?
Not
SGA
not
over SGA?
EPM.
The Joker might win another MVP.
And who's in the MVP race with him?
But
It's
you say-
SGA.
I can't listen to this.
Who's leading
I
about
can't
how
listen
much?
to this.
He's not leading about much. The MVP race
close.
is tight.
It's close.
It's tight. What are you talking about?
You know, I can't.
As an offensive
Is
engine,
the Joker not the
as-
best player in the league?
As an offensive engineer, SGA and
it's muddy
Jokic
waters.
on the
What do you
same
think?
And this is the thing,
stratosphere.
when
As
we
an
talk-
offensive engine, are these two on the same stratosphere?
No, but we're not talking about that. Ultimately,
What are we talking about
You're
then?
talking about them matching up in a playoff series, bro.
They have no
y'all,
shot.
Y'all are crazy.
Jokic is one of the best offensive
Y'all are
engines of all
crazy.
time. SGA is having a really good
I know
regular
that.
season.
I know that, but this is
The Nuggets probably
this
will
is
be
my
the reason
gripe.
they don't make it to the Western Conference Finals if the standings stay the same way.
This is why you guys are being stubborn. You guys are not listening. When I
Let him
talked
talk,
about a
let him talk.
playoff series, you said who's guarding Nikola Jokic. There is no center that can guard
There's nobody.
the Nikola Jokic.
Nobody.
Nobody can do it.
Nobody.
Yes. Jamal Murray ain't guarding SGA.
He's not
No,
gonna
Aaron
guard.
Gordon
they'll throw
guarding
they'll throw
SGA.
KCP on him.
But when
Okay, but
I
when
know
we
what
talk
you're
about
saying.
playoff series, we're talking about individual
Joel,
matchups.
But be honest, when if me and Drew are arguing, and he who's guarding LeBron, and I say, well, who's guarding Steph? Are we not just talking about those stars matching each other?
SGA is a superstar.
No, but I'm asking you, is that not how we do
That's
it?
really what it is.
That's not
It's
how we do
matching.
it. So what I'm
'Cause
saying
Jokic
is
will
the fact that you
dominate
can
that.
even think that you can even come out your mouth and think SGA will match the Joker is ridiculous.
Joker he will play better.
No,
but SGA will be right there.
No, he will
yes,
not.
He will.
No,
yes,
he
he
won't.
will.
I don't
Joker
yes,
will
he will.
completely-
I don't know.
You know what your problem is, Riv? I remember when you used to be all about SGA, but last
still
year,
all
I
about
don't know if
SGA.
you remember this episode, but I said SGA is a superstar. He's as good as Devin Booker. That's what I said. You
I've
told me.
always been-
You told me I was going too fast on SGA, and I told you from that day forward I will
that
push
doesn't
the
make you a
SGA
bigger
agenda.
fan than me.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm a bigger fan than you. I'm
But
not
that doesn't mean I
comparing the
fell
fandom.
off.
But why are you only talking about scenarios where OKC does not play great? They can make the conference
That's not
finals
what he
and they can
did.
play. They can
Is
make
that
the
what he
NBA
did,
finals.
Joel? Is that what he did?
OKC is that good.
They are great.
And this
I
whole
agree.
this whole conversation started about SGA versus Tatum. This year, SGA has a plus 9.5 EPM.
Oh my God.
Jason Tatum is at plus 4.8. Let's not even use advanced stats because he's already complaining about it.
Plus minuses, man.
SGA this year is shooting 67% at the rim.
Yes.
Tatum's at 74%.
Tatum's at 67.1%. They're
I
shooting
have-
similarly at the rim. I'm
have-
looking at
the
dunks
rim.
and threes.
I have 75% on Basketball Reference. For
I'm
Tatum.
looking at dunksandthrees.com is one of my favorite websites for basketball. Mid range, Tatum's at 41%.
Tatum has been a great finisher.
Yes.
He's been an elite finisher.
But this is where they separate. Tatum is at 41% from mid range. SGA is at 50%. And
That's
this
his
year,
game.
SGA has been shooting lights out from three. He was about 50% in the month of February. SGA is shooting 39% from threes.
How
Tatum's
many
at
times?
36% from
how many
three.
times is he taking?
Tatum for sure takes more attempts. He probably takes around the area to 6 to 10.
having a better
SGA is
season?
taking 2 to 4.
Who's having a better season, Jason Tatum or Paul George?
Jason Tatum.
Who do you think has a higher EPM?
I bet.
Is it Paul George?
It's Paul fucking George. What are we doing here using EPM, bro? I get it's a cool stat, and I like to use it sometimes too.
SGA is having a better season than Tatum.
I'm not disagreeing with you. We're just talking, but in
But
terms
then
of
you're
who's a
saying
better
he's
player,
better.
you're saying SGA clears. I disagree.
I remember not long ago when there was a similar player in a situation that proved he was a superstar but hadn't been to the playoff stage yet. That was Devin Booker. I remember you having reservations about Devin Booker. And what did he do in his first year in the playoffs, Drew?
dogged.
Who did he outplay? Anthony Davis? LeBron James?
He didn't outplay.
Okay,
Stop
but
it. He won.
You lied.
he won.
He won.
Even when they were there, though, he
AD
was
Davis
playing
was
the
the
best.
best
AD was the
player in the
best.
series
AD
when
was
he
the best.
played.
AD was
Stop.
the best. Just move on to the Nuggets series.
Nikola Jokic,
was
with
by
no
himself,
help.
yeah.
I understand. Chris Paul, I
He was
thought
arguably the best
dominated
in the
that
series.
series.
Correct.
Devin
It's not
Booker
good so far.
averaged what, 26 to 28 points per game on his road to the finals.
All right, now Clippers.
Had
That's where we
multiple-
could talk about Devin Booker. He played well against the
He
Clippers.
had multiple 40 balls in the finals.
back-to-back 40s.
I mean, and I think what SGA is right now is better than Devin Booker at that
Joel,
point in time.
I agree.
I never said SGA wasn't going to translate. I just want you to know that. I never said he wasn't going to play
Okay,
well.
but you're just
I'm
telling
talking
me
about OKC as a team.
I think SGA is a better player than Jason Tatum. And this whole argument about OKC
is when
stems
you
from
said it's a
not
clearing.
close. That is not
That's
close.
where I
I think
had
it
my
is.
gripe.
I am pretty clear that
Okay,
it's SGA.
no.
I am pretty clear
If you're
it's
saying
SGA.
that, that's
It's
fine.
not
Is
close for me.
SGA a top 5 player in the world? Yes or no?
Nikola Jokic,
Yes.
Giannis,
Easy.
Luka.
Yes. Are you throwing
Steph.
SGA at 4? Okay.
Kevin
Who's
Durant.
better?
Kevin Durant.
SGA, I think.
Kawhi.
SGA right now, I think, is better. Playoff Kawhi, you can never count him out. You know,
You
Kawhi
can never count him out.
Kawhi is a playoff legend. I understand that, but SGA, I think, is the better player right now. I do. I think SGA is a top 5 player in the world.
OKC versus the Clippers. Who's going to play better?
It could be either.
Ooh, Riv. That's not bad. That's not a bad.
Why is he
statement.
acting? Why
I know,
is he
why
acting
are
like
you
I'm,
acting
I'm
like
saying
that,
something
Riv?
crazy?
Riv,
You're
why
not
are
an
you
SGA fan. Get the fuck out of here. You're not an SGA fan. You think he's not even going to perform in the playoffs?
it's hard to defend
Get out of
himself.
here, bro. Nah.
Riv,
No,
Kawhi
no.
can't outperform SGA.
Kawhi can outperform. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, all right.
That's not what
That's-
he's saying. He
no,
just
he's
said I'm
saying
not
the
an
other way
SGA
around.
fan. He's saying the other way
Whoa,
around.
Why is that? You just said you can never count out.
That's
Kawhi
why.
Leonard.
That's why I stopped talking.
I think you were lost.
I
Drew.
did get lost.
Riv said who's going to play better in the playoff series, and I said it could be either or. That's all I said.
Oh, okay. I
Oh, I
agree.
thought
And
you were
then-
going SGA.
That's
No,
what
I
I
said
thought.
no.
Okay.
I literally said either or.
He said
Oh,
either
okay.
way.
I thought you were
apologize.
just
I
going
was
SGA.
lost. I was
That's
lost.
why I
Shit,
stopped
bro.
talking. I didn't even entertain the extra shit after. I just because I thought he was saying because he called him a legend and just said SGA can play better. So I was like,
Thunder, Denver, they match up in the playoff series. You're taking the Thunder. You didn't just scream at us for 15 minutes to take Denver now.
to give us a 50-50.
It was about the disrespect. You acted like there was no chance.
Who's disrespecting? It's
Yeah.
an acknowledgement. It's
You
like
acted like there was no chance.
That's a terrible matchup for
it's
the
an
Thunder.
acknowledgement that Nikola Jokic goes into a playoff series and
Who
is the
they're gonna-
best
they're
player
gonna throw
in the
Chet at him?
series.
They're gonna throw
that was
Jalen
never
Williams
the
at
argument
him?
in the first place.
But
though. I
you
hope
said
know that.
at him, bro.
But the thing was, he said or Riv said who's guarding Jokic. You said who's guarding SGA. Now Riv's, I understand it clear as day, is that Jokic will dominate the series.
Okay, why
Correct?
did I
He'll
say
be the
that?
best player in the series.
Every
You said
series
that
he
because
plays
no
in.
one can guard SGA.
Yeah, I said that because even though Jokic will do what he does in the series,
That he will be the best player in the series.
SGA will do what he does.
He'll be great.
And SGA, with as great of a player as I think he is, I think he's going to play at an MVP level in the playoffs.
I agree.
Jokic is just at a different level than SGA.
But the thing that stemmed from this whole conversation,
Nobody ever compared SGA and Jokic in terms of where
one
they
said
are as
that.
players.
But you said they could go to the Western Conference Finals,
the finals.
and they
No,
could
he said
go
the
to the
finals. They
finals.
can. Yes, they
but,
can.
But my point being is why he mentioned the Nuggets is that Jokic will dominate that series. He'll be the best player in that series, and it'll most likely lead to them winning.
okay, he should be the best player in that series, right? But thank God that playoff series aren't made just from one player's individual matchup, right?
Agreed.
Because I think OKC has a defender there in Lou Dort, who can really make Jamal Murray's life tough in a playoff series. Because I've seen him do it to prime James Harden, and James Harden did not play well in the playoffs. Jamal Murray is a playoff superstar.
One of the best playoff performers in recent memory.
As it's the Nikola Jokic show in Denver, they do not make a playoff run and win a championship without Jamal Murray.
Can Aaron Gordon guard SGA?
I think he can do as good of a job as he can, but I think SGA will average 30.
So my thing is,
frankly,
Denver has a body to throw at SGA. Of course, OKC has a body to throw at Jamal. OKC has no body to throw at the Joker.
Not a chance.
That is the issue that we're stemming from with the matchup. That's an awful matchup for them.
When you take Chet off the court and Jokic is still there, it gets disgusting.
If Aaron Gordon is guarding SGA, who's guarding J-Dub?
No, J-Dub's going to get his.
He's going to get his.
KCP's a good defender,
is Chet
but J-Dub's
not going to get his too?
I mean, he's going to get his.
Chet's going to get his 16.
That's cool.
What's it going to be on J-Dub? Jamal?
Oh, probably KCP.
Or MPJ?
Yeah, it's not going to be
good.
Look,
now you're putting Jamal
the
on
fact that
Lou Dort?
Yes. The fact that it's not just the SGA show either. OKC is a great and talented team. And I think Gordon Hayward, the addition of getting him to the team too, to provide some offense and some team defense.
Let's see it first before they could beat Denver.
If they can improve their bench, that'll be huge. Denver's depth this year has been kind of concerning.
For sure, but you usually go 7-8 in the playoffs.
It's a playoff series.
It's the regular season, though. It sucks that we can't evaluate Denver to the fullest because we know that we feel like they're coasting.
All I'm saying
Peyton
is that
Watson has been a great defender for them too.
Jokic, SGA. Yes, all-time standing is Jokic. It's clear.
I don't feel like we're talking about
this year, they're both playing at MVP level. I know Jokic is better. I think there's a difference between Jokic and SGA, no doubt. But I think SGA in a playoff series against Jokic will play at an MVP level, and then it's up to the secondary guys to see who's going to win.
It's pretty impressive that just in one regular season, SGA went from he was a borderline top 10 player to now clearing Jason Tatum. We're talking about him with Nikola Jokic without doing anything in the playoffs. He's just on that level automatically.
I'm not saying he's on that level. We just said
SGA. Tatum's a top 8 player in the world.
They beat Denver. They beat Denver.
No.
If you think they could beat Denver, he's basically got to outplay Jokic. I don't see any other world that happens.
Role players can make a big impact on the series. If Jamal Murray doesn't have a great series, that could be the reason why OKC wins.
If Jalen Williams doesn't have a good series, they're cooked too.
Okay, but that's why we got to see how these series play out.
I think the main
SGA doesn't necessarily have to outplay Jokic to win.
I think
to beat Denver, it's going to be tough.
The main thing stem from OKC, what I got. We just don't think OKC matches up. Fuck the stars. We just don't think OKC matches up with Denver.
Just don't have the
size. Is not a good matchup for them.
We talking about them against the Pelicans, and the Pelicans might have a chance. No, they don't.
I did not say they had a chance.
The Pelicans. Any team with a physical front court, like OKC doesn't match up with Minnesota either. It's just Minnesota's offense is muddy. But OKC, from a front court physical, they don't match up with Minnesota. That's vice versa. But OKC matches up well with the Clippers because they don't play big. They go small. Does that mean they can beat them? Sure. But it's a matchup dependent. The West is matchup dependent. That's all it is. If OKC plays Denver, I believe in Denver to win that series because they don't match up well in that series.
We just seen a team in the Golden State Warriors become a dynasty, and they were not a big team.
Brother, they had Draymond goddamn Green.
Of course, but Draymond Green is 6'6", 6'7".
And he's one of the smartest defensive players in NBA history.
They have the best shooter in NBA history.
Okay, that's a rare team.
Multiple outliers. And you have the second best shooter in NBA history. And then they got Kevin Durant.
You're missing the point. You're
using a bad example.
Rebounding was never the Warriors' strong suit. They were never a top team in the league in rebounding.
They don't need to be.
But that's the knock on OKC right now. OKC can still beat teams even if they play small.
I never said
I don't think you're using them being small as a negative. The spacing advantage could be a positive and a plus in a playoff
You can use that in terms of helping, but you using the Warriors when they had Steph, Clay,
no, I'm
and
just
Dre's
saying
ridiculous.
We've seen a team already be a dynasty.
Yes, with the smartest defender ever.
In size and rebounding.
Yes,
I'm not knocking Draymond, but I'm saying to act like OKC.
But if that's your comp,
is this huge liability because of their big depth is crazy.
They had great role players. They had a bunch of vets on that team. They had honestly, Steve Kerr is going to go down as one of the best coaches in NBA history, whether you like it or not. Like, there's so much that goes into that Warriors team.
Yeah, but you're missing the point. And
I'm not.
Yeah, y'all are missing the point. Crazily.
If the comp has to be. They are like the Warriors dynasty. I can't argue
2015, 2016.
I'm going to look it up right now where they were in rebounding.
But I don't even think the rebound's the issue. It's just you have to go up against Nikola Jokic, who's 7 foot, 270. You don't got dudes to throw at that.
Not in the first round, likely. It depends on where they
won the finals in 2022. They were top 7 in rebounds, total rebounds. OKC's 25 this year. Just keep track. Let's see, they won the finals 2017.
That was the year with Festus Ezeli. They had more bodies.
No, that was 2022. Festus
2022, okay. Good.
And also with Golden State, they had Andrew Bogut, who obviously they talked
2018,
about.
No, yeah, they had some
they were
minutes
17th in total rebounds.
They had minutes to allocate at size. But I'm saying we've seen teams play with the pace and space play style that aren't a huge liability in the playoffs.
2017, they were 7th in total rebounds. Like I said, it was a bad example. They were still a good rebounding team. They were elite in some years.
Okay, you got me there.
2015, they were 6th.
I believe that.
Okay, you got me there. What I'm talking about ultimately though is that I don't think OKC's deterrent with their size, with their lack of size, should be this end all be all, and we should just label them some type of fraud or big liability depending on matchup.
It's just against the best teams. Against the best teams, like most importantly, Denver. That's where we have issue with them.
Let me start by saying this. I don't think I don't want nobody to get that misconstrued.
They're not
None of us think they're frauds.
No.
None of us think they're frauds. I think they're a second round team. I think they will make the second round team.
And you're the one saying that they could beat Dallas, that Dallas could beat OKC in the first round.
It's Luka, yeah.
It's the joke.
Listen,
I'm done.
It's Luka. It's Luka. But I think OKC.
But I'm saying it's
Hold up.
But that's where, Joel, I have issue.
I'm not picking the Mavericks in the series against OKC, if that's what you're getting at.
You said they would drop to 4 so that the Mavs would go to 5 and that they would meet in the first round, and that's what you would want to see the most.
Because I think from an ideal matchup perspective, the Mavericks might match up with them the most. But OKC is a more talented team up and down.
In the series right now, who would you pick, OKC or Dallas?
Right now, OKC. You know, they have more talent.
I feel like a week ago it was Dallas.
Right now it's OKC. And
it was a week ago.
It was Dallas.
We also have to understand.
But a week ago it was Dallas, was it not?
I said Dallas, they got a chance. That is an ideal matchup for them. I don't think they match up the best against the Clippers or the Nuggets. They're just more experienced teams.
You're saying with Dallas matching up with OKC, is that not the same we're saying with Denver? Is that not a valid reason? You're saying Dallas, OKC is a favorable matchup for Dallas. You think they can win that, and then they have Luka. That's the same thing we're saying with Denver.
This is how I feel.
But you're not using the same logic.
At the end of the day, this is how I feel. The Western Conference is wide open.
Okay.
I can make a case for 6 to 7 teams that I could realistically see. I don't know about 7, but I can get what you would 5.
I
can see it with the Nuggets. I can see it with the Clippers. I can see it with the Wolves. I can see it with OKC. I can see it with Dallas. I've already picked them as my dark horse team. Are you talking about like
perfect clean scenarios or like realistic scenarios?
No, realistic scenarios. Okay. Realistic scenarios. And then number 6, I don't trust them fully, but it's the Suns. It's the Suns really. It's really in that vicinity. Like if Bradley Beal's healthy and they're playing great basketball, I could see it. You know, the West is going to be a gauntlet. It's going to be tough. There's only a couple teams that I really just don't see them going really far. That's the Kings. That's the Pelicans. I guess I'm counting out the Warriors, and that's the Lakers, really. But
so can you answer my question?
All those other teams, I think they can go far.
So can you answer my question?
Repeat it.
What you're doing with Dallas is you're saying OKC's a favorable matchup and they have Luka. Can we not say the same about Denver, which is OKC's a favorable matchup for them and it's the Jokers? That's what you've had a gripe with when you just did it with Dallas.
Oh, because you dismissed SGA. That's what I had a gripe with.
You just dismissed OKC and said it's Luka.
I didn't dismiss OKC. I just
you literally said it's Luka. You have a chance.
We said it's Jokic.
Yeah, but there's a difference.
The guy who actually has a ring.
There's a difference.
MVPs.
There's a difference between saying a team has a chance against a team because they got this star player versus you completely disregarding SGA in a series against the Nuggets and just saying the Nuggets would beat them easily.
So you can disregard Tatum in a conversation with him and SGA, but I can't disregard OKC in a matchup against an experienced team that won a title. That makes sense to you.
If you want to do that, that's what you think. That's your ideology. That's what you want to believe.
That's sound logic, though. That's sound.
I don't. If you want to believe what you want to believe, you can believe what you want to believe.
You just said you had a problem with that.
Problem with
you said you said your gripe was that we're dismissing OKC, which, by the way, I think it's a 6-7 game series. But I think Denver is a better team. But you just dismissed Tatum in a conversation with SGA when it's been 45 games.
When we talked about OKC and Denver, we were talking about matchups in the playoffs. You mentioned Jokic, I mentioned SGA. You threw a fit over me mentioning SGA when in reality it's the other matchups that might make the series.
I thought you
but
were.
SGA still, I believe, will play at an MVP level.
Yes, I think we all believe.
I never.
Do you believe that he will play as an MVP in that series versus Nuggets? Yes or no?
Yeah, he'll be fantastic.
Yes or no?
I never once told
But
you
there's
guys,
MVP.
y'all
There's
are
legendary.
crazy.
We have to do this again.
That's how you win a
I
championship.
never
You gotta
told
be
y'all. I
legendary.
never told y'all that it's crazy for believing Jokic is going to play SGA. I never said that once. You can roll back the tape. I never said that once.
No.
It was just you guys said there's no chance OKC can beat Denver.
And we believe.
I don't think
that
there's.
was
I don't
my
think
We
there's
gripe.
a world they
believe
can
Denver
do it.
wins that. Just like how you believe SGA in your mind clears
Jason
Tatum.
Tatum.
We believe Denver will win that series. Is that not fair? Is that not fair?
Can't wait till
SGA's
we
been
get
a
this
better
chip.
player than Tatum this year.
He's
Okay,
been
but
more
it-
efficient for sure.
Much better.
Denver-
Like, it's really, one is in the MVP conversation. One can't sniff it, and he's
Tatum's
the best
in the
record in the
MVP
league.
conversation. Tatum is in the MVP.
Not like SGA is.
So let me ask you a
not.
question. SGA's been better than Steph Curry. Why do you have?
I wish
Why do you
SGA
have Steph Curry over SGA?
If SGA ever had a stinker in the finals, he wouldn't be
I
in
wish
the
we
MVP
remember that
conversation
regular
either.
season doesn't matter for certain players.
I know,
It
but
doesn't.
SGA. Let me not
No,
say
not
that
SGA.
as a knock. Yes, it's not a knock.
Tatum's
knock.
putting up
But
the
certain
most
players
like,
are
most calm,
coasting.
like
That's
27,
all I
9,
say.
and
It's
5.
like, hey,
and just
if
like,
you want to
wow.
say that he's been better than him this season, I think we all would sit here and say you're 1,000%
That's why he's
right.
top 3
But when
MVP
you
race.
just said your list of, I asked, is he top 5 in the world? You still had Steph over him, but pretty clearly, no slight to Steph.
Because that's a respect to
SGA's
Steph.
been
Steph is a champion.
better.
Is Tatum a champion?
Bro, come on.
Is Tatum a champion? Did he not
Come
choke in the
on.
finals?
No, I ain't gonna say nothing
I
here.
got a question. Is Donovan Mitchell better than Kevin Durant?
SGA
No.
last year in his
Donovan
first
Mitchell
year
is
being
higher
a
in the
first,
MVP standings than Kevin Durant is.
Okay,
We're
but Kevin
fucking here.
Durant,
Has he-
the
has he made
numbers
it?
and the defensive impact of
been
KD
elite.
have
He's
been
been elite.
amazing.
Okay, so
But also-
look at Jason Tatum's numbers and his defensive impact's been sensational too.
SGA's first team as a first
I'm just
All-NBA didn't make the playoffs.
You're not confused. You know. he
SGA
His
with
first year-
one of the youngest rosters.
No, for
ever?
sure. First year as an All-NBA.
Listen, I think SGA is a better player than Tatum. It's as simple as that.
So then why won't you just double down? Because SGA's been better than Steph right
Because
now.
Steph Curry is a 4-time champion.
I agree,
Finals
but
MVP.
we're talking about
He
2024.
just won in 2022, and we understand that this year Steph Curry
My
has been the
brother in
most
Christ.
clutch player in the league.
My
Has
brother.
Tatum been the most clutch player in the league?
My brother.
Has Tatum been
Is
the
he
most
not
clutch?
a part of the best team in the NBA right now?
Has Tatum
Is
been
he
the
not
most
the
pla-
best player on the best team in the
Steph
NBA
Curry
right
has
now?
no help. Steph Curry
No
has
help
no help
now. They've been playing some great basketball
As of
recently.
recently, he's had little to no help all season. Am I wrong, Riv?
Has he had help recently?
Recently, yes.
Since Draymond Green has come back,
Who's
has they not
been-
been a
They've
really,
been a great-
really
they've been a
good fucking
Who's
team?
been the most clutch player in the league by
Yes,
a
by a
landslide?
good margin.
Is
Steph
Tatum
will
even
win
close
he
to
will
there?
add
Tatum's
that
not even
onto
close.
the catalog.
I mean, we're 47
But
and 12,
SGA
bro.
is
We're not
putting
in
up
clutch.
Michael Jordan numbers.
Steph Curry is a
Please, let's not say
four-time
that.
champion. He
The
just
stats
won.
are crazy.
He just went on a championship run, and he's still playing at an elite level.
I'll be
That's
honest, bro.
respect to
If
Steph.
you- if
What do
you
I gotta
think-
respect with Tatum? He's not a champion. He's not a
Wait,
champion.
best player in
but
franchise's
to be
history.
fair, Tatum has been elite in
There's
the playoffs.
a difference
Tatum has
between
been elite.
Tatum's a playoff riser.
there's a difference between Steph being over SGA and SGA being over
Steph,
Tatum.
I
There's a huge
understand that
difference.
point, but
I just- I'm
Tatum
kidding.
not have the record for most points in a game?
Tatum has
Did
been-
Jason Tatum
he's-
not outperform
he's-
Giannis
he's with
Antetokounmpo?
toe-to-toe
and Joel
with
Embiid.
Giannis Antetokounmpo,
Yeah.
who you have number 2
With no Chris
in the
Middleton.
league,
With no Chris
which makes
Middleton.
sense.
With no
He
Chris Middleton.
outperformed Giannis.
With
That's
no
all
Chris
I
Middleton.
said.
With no
He
Chris Middleton.
outperformed
And they
Giannis.
win
I'm
7
asking
games.
on the road.
What we're asking
On the
SGA to do
road.
against Denver, Tatum has done that against Giannis.
He's done it.
He's done it.
Not in the
He's put up
finals.
What you're
45
wanting
in
to
a
do
game
in
6.
He's done that
in the
shit. He's
Western
put up
Conference
multiple 30-point
Finals.
games.
Not
He's
in
done all
the
that
finals.
shit. It's fine though because Tatum's been doing it for years and he hasn't got the chip. So there's expectations for Tatum. For SGA, it's like, let's go. Good for SGA. Great regular season. There's no expectations for him. I'm just confused because you're so hesitant to say SGA is better than Steph Curry, but there's really no doubt in your mind that he could go bar for bar with Nikola Jokic in a playoff series. That just baffles my mind. Nikola Jokic has been the best player performer in the NBA right now. Period.
You're saying Steph's
He is the
resume.
best player. I'm saying, right now, Nikola Jokic is
the best player in the league, by far.
His run that he had last season is the best we've seen. One of the best ones in NBA history.
It really is.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic is amazing. We know he's a top 10, 20 player.
So
ever.
SGA could go bar for bar with that, but he's not better than Steph
He's not
Curry
better
right
than
now.
Steph, apparently.
SGA is going to play at an MVP level in that Denver series. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. SGA going to play great in the
Again,
playoffs.
we
Yes,
all
he
agree.
is.
You're not answering my question.
We all agree. But you're saying he clears Tatum because he's been better than him this season.
I feel like, to me, what a clearer means, if I'm picking them to be my leader from my team, I'm picking that guy. I'm picking SGA.
In 2024,
I'm not
right?
I'm
Just
not
because
thinking
it's
twice.
2024.
I'm not thinking twice.
So you think
Because
SGA
where we
is
start
better-
right now.
You have SGA over
SGA
Tatum.
is a better
There
player
we go.
than
I'm
Jason
just-
Tatum.
All right,
That's
so
what you
then in 2024, moving forward, because this is what we're taking into account, would you not take SGA right now over Steph Curry?
Yes, when you account for age and everything, yes.
But again, right now, SGA's been better than Steph Curry this season.
Okay, for sure, you can make that
So
argument.
then why is he not better than him?
No, he's been better.
Because you asked me who are my best players. You didn't ask me who's playing the best this season. If you asked me that, I would have had SGA over
But your
Curry.
big thing has been SGA has been better than Tatum this season.
So who's your best players? Best player.
Yeah, but
player for player.
SGA skill set is better than Tatum's. He's a better mid-range shooter. He drives just as well.
The mid-range is really the needle.
Wait, no.
He's
It's also the amount of drives.
Joel, so you're saying
Tatum shoots
SGA's
75%
skill
of the
set
rim,
is
bro.
better than Tatum's, not Curry's. That's why you have him over?
Say it one more
You're
time.
saying SGA's skill set is better than Tatum's, not Curry. That's why you have him over Tatum.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Let's not pretend like SGA is an elite on the defensive side. Steph Curry has never been as great or elite as SGA has been on the defensive side.
When it comes to rating players,
he's generational offensive
I
player.
rate players based on who I think is better. I don't go off the narrative
SGA is a
of the
defensive player of the
I
year
don't know,
candidate
bro.
this season.
I've seen Tatum year in and year out go into the playoffs and outperform dudes like Giannis, outperform dudes like Joel Embiid multiple times.
Kevin Durant.
And I don't want to hear no
Happened
team
once.
shit. I don't want to hear no team shit.
multiple times after once.
No,
Joel
outperforms.
Embiid. Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid chokes in the playoffs. That means
Jason
nothing to
Tatum's
me.
very clearly outperformed superstars multiple times.
Chris Middleton was not playing in that Bucks series.
Kevin Durant, though.
Kevin Durant.
100%.
Jimmy Butler.
I'll give you that. Jimmy Butler has outperformed him more
They
times.
like 1-1.
They're
for
1-1.
sure.
I'll give you 1-1.
I was
I'll
going
give you
to say
1-1.
because last year you could say
They're
Tatum
definitely-
was
Tatum was
better.
really good.
They're
Game
1-1.
7
Now,
was tough.
this is, you talk about Jason Tatum. He's
to go.
finishing what? 75% at the basket.
Yes.
SGA is number 1 in the NBA in drives per game at
He's one of the
23.
best finishers in the
He
world.
is one of the
Tatum does
best
not
finishers
get
in the
to the
world.
basket like SGA.
That's not his game.
SGA got more volume at the basket and finishes just as well. He's a better mid-range shooter on better volume.
SGA is a
He's
better
showing.
finisher than Tatum.
He's showing that with his three-point shot, he's efficient. He's not taking as much as Tatum, but SGA's game, his offensive game, is more consistent, and he's a better playmaker. There's nothing on offense Tatum does better than SGA.
I think he's a better
outside of
three-point-
shooting
he's a better
long
three-point
goals.
shooter.
That's it.
He's
SGA's a better
three-point
playmaker
shooter.
than Tatum?
It's
Yes.
close. It's close. I'm not going to lie. It's
Yes.
close. SGA is not this elite playmaker.
No, he's not, but neither is Tatum.
Let me ask you a question.
Tatum's
Chris,
pretty
I don't know,
good.
bro. Tatum's been on a run. He's averaging like 8 assists over these last 10, 15 games.
Trippin, did Jason Tatum not average 30 last season?
He did.
Okay, if Kristaps Porzingis wasn't on the team, we can assume
be
he'd
averaging
probably
30,
be averaging
probably.
30 again.
He probably would be.
So then what would this conversation really just be?
I don't know, like-
because Tatum has been great at
Again,
adjusting
bro,
to the team.
It's about expectations. Tatum's expectation is you're 25 and haven't won a championship yet with all these teams, which is hilarious because you guys don't like
He's
anybody
going to
on the
be a
fucking
first-time
Celtics.
All-NBA
Like-
player. He's been to the finals already. He has done this all before the age of
Like
25.
SGA doesn't even have 5% of the resume Tatum does.
So you think
respectfully.
Tatum is a better offensive player than SGA?
It's comparable. It's not a clear.
No, tell me who's better, because you've
It's
been
not
wanting me to give you
clear
point blank,
read.
black and white
You think
answers.
Tatum
Tell
is
me who's better
I think
offensively, Tatum or
SGA
SGA?
is clearly a better mid-range shooter. Outside of that, it's very
No,
close across the
offensively,
board.
who's better? Who are you picking if you're
I'm
picking
gonna
one
go
guy?
I'm taking Jason Tatum.
I'm gonna go
Give me the
Tatum
dude that's been
also.
dropping 50 balls in the playoffs. Give me the dude who's been to a finals, who's been to multiple ECFs. Like, respect to SGA.
And what is SGA, a year younger? He's a
They're
year
the same
younger?
age. They're both 25.
Yeah, I don't think they're the same age.
SGA got
Tatum
traded to a
turns 26
rebuild.
on Sunday, though. Shout out to
Definitely.
him.
Nah, SGA's been a dog. He's just been hurt.
has been a dog.
Before these 2 years, he's just been
Yes,
hurt.
for
but
sure.
He's been a dog.
His third year in OKC when Chris Paul left and he had a terrible roster. The
didn't you-
roster went 16 and 19 that
Didn't
year,
you
and they were
also
competitive
talk to me
because of
about
him.
how he was underwhelming his first go around in the playoffs with OKC?
He was the second option. They ran a 3-guard lineup with Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and SGA. SGA in the playoffs as the second, third option.
argue he was a third.
He wasn't as efficient of a mid-range shooter and three-point shooter.
Schroeder was pretty good.
Facts. He
No,
was.
Schroeder was amazing.
It's impressive Tatum's been on these runs, too, with players you don't like. You don't like Jaylen Brown. You think Missoula's not a good coach. Robert Williams was hurt 2 years ago. You don't like Grant Williams.
Now I just use
know you
narratives.
don't
He
like
even
Marcus
use
Smart.
facts to defend Tatum. It's
No,
hilarious.
it's the
Don't
God's
even
honest
use
truth.
facts.
I know you don't think any of these players are good.
What do you
You've
mean?
told
I
me
do.
multiple times
I don't
about
think-
Grant.
I don't think
You've
Jaylen
told me
Brown
times
is
about Jaylen
good.
Brown. You've told me shit about Joe Mazzulla.
Definitely been vocal about
Griff,
that.
do
all
have
these
I ever
dudes.
said Jaylen Brown wasn't good?
No,
I mean, what the hell are we talking about?
You've
here?
definitely been vocal about how you think Jaylen Brown's not like everyone thinks.
Yeah, probably
he
that.
is.
Yeah, probably that part.
Yeah, he underperformed in the playoffs this past season, but we
Against
know
the Heat. For
we
the
know
first
Jaylen
time ever
Brown
in his
is a
playoff
great
career.
player, and the
Oh, this is the
defense,
first. I've never heard this
the
before.
defense last year was for sure underwhelming, was it not?
Compared
Am
to
I-
the previous year, yes.
Yes,
Well, he was
it was-
taking more of a load offensively. He averaged 27.
Yeah, but it was
Now he's
more
back.
underwhelming than what it's
Playing
been.
defense.
He's been a great defender this year.
Shout out
Kristaps
to
Porzingis
Porzingis.
is a legend.
Porzingis has been a great rim protector, one of the best in the league.
I just
Alright.
Who do you think's a better offensive player?
out of who?
Tatum and SGA.
It's just
That's tough.
I have a hard time just taking like a 50-game regular season sample size and be like, oh, this dude is clear over the other.
Clear.
When coming to the season, it wasn't the case.
Here's the thing: is Tatum is better at the most valuable thing in the game right now. It's 3-point shooting, but SGA inside the arc, like
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. I think the playmaking is pretty even. I might lean SGA.
Can you guys record tomorrow or? Because I don't know if you want us to finish this episode or we could save it for tomorrow and record it.
You guys can finish it. If you guys are already here, you guys are locked in, good energy. I'm fine with that.
I don't mind waiting tomorrow. I'm good tomorrow.
I'm not gonna be here, so it's up to y'all.
Okay, we can finish it. All right, Drew. Have a great night.
I'm sorry.
Get out.
Any other day.
Hurry
Enjoy
up.
your dinner, man.
Oh, D, I'm already late as fuck.
It's okay, bro. It's just pizza.
I can't even eat it. So.
All right, bro.
Sit there for the vibes.
Literally.
Man, Dehls.
Tough world we live in.
Good argument, though.
Tough world we live in.
I'm excited to see what the comments say.
Damn, so SGA clears Tatum. That means the Celtics probably don't even have a top 10 player in the world on the super team of theirs.
That's what you think, though?
I think they're both.
That's what you're telling me, my brother.
No, that's what you think. That's what you got out of it.
I mean,
that's what you got out of it.
I don't
Really?
know. You get a little fishy on what the Celtics are and what they're not.
Have I always not said whenever we talked about them, they're the best team in the league? I mean, when have I not said that?
Yeah,
I'm acknowledging them. They're great. They're the best team in the league.
It's pretty impressive to be the best team in the league and you have barely a top 8-9 player in the world. You know?
Yeah, when you have another All-NBA player, an All-Star, a guy who people were voting to be an All-Star. I mean, yes, it's the most talented roster in the league. It is.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Tatum in his own right is a great player too. It's
been fantastic.
I mean, it's the best roster in the league.
I know you don't watch Celtics game. It was a 2-point game yesterday. We went off for 12 straight from Tatum.
Nice.
I didn't even know that. Really, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here you go.
Or he had 12. He had 14 in the fourth. I don't know if it was straight, but it was a 2-point game, and yeah, he took over because that's what he fucking does. But SGA, I'm happy for him. This is about to be the first time he's gonna be a superstar in the playoffs. Maybe this is the first time he gets his first playoff series win. That would be huge for him, huge for the brand. Be a shame if he goes down in the first round.
Who's the better favorite to win a championship?
Boston.
You think they're gonna do it?
Absolutely.
The Boston OKC matchup in the finals. What you thinking?
I'm picking OKC. You best believe that.
So we're the best team in the league, but in your eyes, we're not even favorites to win the championship because OKC is better than us.
I mean, you are favorites to win the championship.
No, Joel Moran's odds, not
Joel Moran's odds is that the Celtics should win the championship, but if they don't, something will go wrong. And what goes wrong, I'm not going to say what I think it's going to be, but it has the potential to be whatever it can be.
Well, I want to know what it's going to be.
I'm actually curious to know what it's going to be.
Because I don't want it to happen and be like, well, I knew it was going to be this, but you never told me what it was.
You think it's going to be Tatum?
I'm saying I think you think it's going to be
Maybe it
Tatum.
could be a reason. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Kristaps' health. Maybe, it's other things. Who knows? It could be Jaylen Brown not playing well for the series. I mean, we don't know.
It's happened once in his career, really.
I'll be honest. My honest opinion, I think Jaylen Brown could play bad. They still win. I think if Jaylen Brown's playing good and Porzingis play bad, they still win. I think the only way they lose is if Tatum plays bad.
I agree.
Like, legitimately.
So you think he got the largest margin for error in the league?
I think he's the one that can't fuck up. Like, I think Missoula will be fine.
You think it rides on him that much?
I'm talking about the finals against the West.
So let me ask you this then. In the finals against the West, that's a fair point. That's a valid
anything else in the East, they'll be fine.
If Tatum doesn't play up to par, but Jaylen Brown is all NBA, Kristaps is all-star, they can't still win though?
And if they're playing a West team?
Yes.
Like if they're playing the Clippers and Tatum doesn't show up, fuck.
Well, you're telling me Tatum can't show up and they could just still win the East. That's what you're telling me.
Because I think Philly fucked up right now. You got Cleveland. I think Boston is better. The Knicks, that'd be but offensively, I don't know. Like depends on Randall. The Bucks would be the one because you still got Giannis and Dame, but even then they can't guard.
Tatum's averaging 7 assists in the month of February, by the way.
Nice. What he's averaging for the year?
He's at, I don't know what's he at.
Like
he's at 5.
There we go.
It's not more than SGA. You know that.
She's
Right?
at 6.5, right?
Yeah, 6.5.
7. 37, 6, 2 steals. Dog. When did you become an SGA fan?
I've been that. I've always loved SGA. I haven't been vocal about him like I have.
Just because you can love him don't mean
Luka Doncic. I've been a fan since 2021. Since we.
Oh, so this is recent. You tried to say this was 2021.
Back when SGA led a team that was 16-19, they were almost a 500 team, and they were a terrible roster. I mean, SGA had the flashes to be what he is now, but since I thought he was a legit superstar, it's been last year. I thought he was in a conversation with Devin Booker and those guys. So, no, I love SGA, and it's hard for me sometimes to pick between these West teams. We talked about OKC, but I got a lot of love for Minnesota, too.
Really?
I got a lot of love for Minnesota.
It's been quiet about Minnesota.
And
is Ant clear of Tatum
Did you see
too?
Kings fans in the comments
he's not.
saying
okay.
Joel he's out of the fandom?
Damn, I actually did see a couple of those.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, you be falling off, bro. You don't be
There was
standing.
very little. Listen, Minnesota, they're going to have a house built for me out there, man. They fuck with me like that. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they get an A+ for this season. It's really as simple as that. They came into the season, they conquered the number 1 seed. They're in a fight with it against OKC. but finally healthy. Cat's bought into a role. He's playing good defense. He's doing what he typically does on offense. The defense changed around Rudy Gobert. And Anthony Edwards, throughout the season, he started very hot, kind of slowed down a little bit once he got injured, kind of wasn't the most consistent. But in the month of February, he's averaging 35 and 5. I want to see that more from Anthony Edwards. I know what he's capable of. I know what he can be. I've seen what he's done in the playoffs. I want him to make a serious run for this MVP with the games left that we have this year. Because
Anthony Edwards isn't in the MVP race, my brother.
No, he's not. But I want him to start playing at the level where he starts getting recognized for it.
Yes.
Remember when we used to have those Donovan Ant-Man conversations?
Who's better?
You think Donovan is better?
I do think that. I've always thought Donovan was better.
Donovan thinks having a better season this year.
No, he is. I still think
he had a better season last year. It's actually, in actuality, he's had the better season for a couple years now. You know,
I mean,
it's just his infatuation.
Yeah, you know.
I like Ant-Man.
Did we ever have an SGA versus Ant conversation?
We might have, and I would pick Ant. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm 100% sure you picked Ant.
I'm an Ant guy. This is my guy for sure.
No, he's a Ant guy. It's just funny how my guard.
But it's would you rather? It wasn't who's a better player. Because who's a better?
You're so crazy, bro.
What do you mean? Who's a better player? It's SGA. But would you rather? It's Ant-Man.
No, like
me.
realistically, nothing wrong with loving Ant. I fuck with Ant. He's tough. But you're basically setting him up. If he's not the best player in the world for multiple seasons, he has failed. In your eyes.
Ant-Man is 22 years old, and I think is knocking on the door of being like a top 10 player.
Knocking on the door?
I do.
Right now? Really?
With the efficiency and the stats, it might not look that way, but from what I see, I think he's up there.
From his eyes, your eyes are blurred. Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell, the numbers are better
right now.
The numbers are better.
Can we admit he's not better right now?
He's not.
Donovan Mitchell's playing better. But I think when it's I think
come on, bro.
Anthony Edwards is better. I think Anthony Edwards is better.
But it's the same.
No, he will be better. He's not better right now. If you want to say he will be, okay, but there's no world you could say he is better.
Ant got it. He was better last year.
In the last 2 years.
The year before. Oh yeah, Minnesota against Memphis, he's okay, but whatever. But the last two regular seasons, Ant has not been better than Donovan at all. Like it hasn't been close.
He's young. He's 22.
Which he is
That's
young.
fine.
He has the young factor to him. So but in your eyes, if we're asking in your eyes about Ant, it's not going to be.
He's better than Jokic.
Yeah, he's damn.
No,
he's top 10 ever.
I mean, you said SGA could outperform Jokic, and if Ant could be better than SGA,
top 20 ever.
Come on, just do
Anthony Edwards in the series against Denver. Jokic was better,
fantastic.
But you could argue that Anthony Edwards wasn't lagging too far behind in that series.
Okay.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. I thought you were going to say you could argue Ant was better.
So Anthony Edwards, I've seen it. Listen, I think Anthony Edwards is the one, but I'm not saying I don't think that he is going to make a run for MVP. Like he's going to be in a serious conversation for it. But with the games left, I want him to average 29. I want him to average close to that 30 number. I want him to take over the offense and get Minnesota to a top 10 offense in the league. I want him to at least start being considered for it and have a serious case with the numbers backing him up as well. But Minnesota, I think their defense just gives them such a high floor. Mm-hmm. This is an elite team that has perimeter defenders. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, he's
been really damn
he's
good.
a diamond in the rough that people are not talking about.
Yeah, facts.
But Alexander-Walker has been awesome for them, and I think this team has the depth to do some things in the West.
Yeah, that's why I see the Wolves.
Okay.
That's where I see it because
make the conference finals, bro.
I think who do you think matches up better with the Nuggets? The Timberwolves or the Thunder?
I think it's easily the Timberwolves.
I don't even think it's close, actually.
They have the size to guard the Joker.
The Timberwolves defense matches up better with the Nuggets. OKC's offense matches up better with Denver's defense.
Well, the Timberwolves offense doesn't really match up with anybody with all due respect.
It doesn't. And I feel like those spurts are what concern me about them. Because I saw the other night against Milwaukee when they had a 13-point third quarter and these lows they can get into offensively are frightening. Yeah. They're frightening as somebody who supports the team, and I'm sure they're frightening for the fans of the team who, in the playoff series, a quarter could be make or break. I mean, we've seen that when they had their first go-around against Memphis. They should have won that series, but they got outplayed in the quarter, and they lost. So, those problems can't keep coming back, but that's a concern for them.
That's a real playoff performer right there, John Moran.
Yeah, that's a fact. I would have the Timberwolves as an A+ as well. It's easy to look now at them as number one seed, but coming into the year, they weren't this undisputed one of the most dominant teams in the West. There were still some serious questions about this double big look. There was, I think, some questions even still about their playoff ceiling potentially, but what they've been doing in the regular season, tied for first place. They've been able to beat some of the top teams in the NBA as well. They're able to beat Boston. They beat OKC Thunder in the past too. It's hard to have them anything less than A. Now it's time to put up or shut up. We know you're a great regular season team. The offense is definitely in question. So if they go out a little sorry in the first or second round, I think it's going to be looked at as a disappointment.
You know, I think we had a conversation like last year. I remember last year we all thought, Minnesota would be like a top 4 seed and the injuries hit them. Then coming into this year, we felt the same way. Like, this team is built to win games in the regular season. Like, this team has the makeup. I didn't expect their defense to be this elite. I didn't expect all these 5 guys to be engaged as they are, like locked in like that. And then their bench being able to come in, Kyle Anderson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker being as good of defenders as they are. And then the Naz Reid, leap has been amazing to see. But I think Cat, being as great as a defender he's been in his position this year, has really uplifted the team. Like, I know Gobert is going to do what he's do as a floor raiser. I know Ant's going to play defense when he's locked in. Jaden's going to play defense. But Cat being that defender for them has been huge. Their offense does scare me because sometimes it's just a bunch of low IQ plays and long spurts. Like, sometimes they don't have enough ball movement. Sometimes they get into these funks where it looks ugly, it looks muddy, and your defense can only do so much in the playoff series. Like, offensively, you have to be consistent. You have to get it going. And when you're going up against teams with Kawhi in playoff mode, with the Joker in playoff mode, like against Phoenix, who has Devin Booker, who has Kevin Durant, yeah, your defense could be great, but eventually you're going to have to put the ball in the basket. You're going to have to be consistent with it. You're going to need a bucket getter. So I agree. You expect Ant to kind of like take this March, April to kind of gear it up, get to it so he can walk into the playoffs and be that 30-point per game scorer, because the West is a bloodbath. And it's really, I know role players has been more important than any other time, but it's really going to come down to the stars because the defenses that we have, the mismatches that we have, like you're going up against the Clippers, you have stars everywhere. You're going against Denver, you have stars everywhere. OKC has a bunch of rising stars everywhere. Even Phoenix, stars everywhere. Like almost every team has a star or two, or sometimes even 3. So you're really going to need your star players this year to really step it up and play the way they play. But A- for me, I would have gave them an A+, but their offense really is shit. So A-.
We got 3 teams left in the East, and we got 3 teams left in the West. In the East, it's the Bucks, Knicks, and the Miami Heat. The Bucks are interesting because I think you can grade them differently based off the Adrian Griffin era and the Doc Rivers era. Before we grade them, which one do you think was better? Do you think the Bucks have upgraded with Doc Rivers?
I mean, win-loss wise, no.
I mean, the teams they've even played lately, they beat Charlotte. They just lost to Memphis before the break.
But they beat the Minnesota to come out the break.
That's their best win they've had in like 2 weeks.
Probably. Beating Boston by like 1,000.
They beat the shit out of you. They took you off the TV. So no, that's definitely their best win. But definitely their second best, Minnesota. But they just lost. They're a weird team. They just lost to Memphis. Come out. They beat Minnesota. They've beaten Charlotte. They beat Philly, but nobody really takes Philly seriously now because no Embiid. Yeah. So it's like
7-17.
Yeah, you got a new coach. Doc Rivers has helped this team in more ways than not. Definitely better than the Adrian Griffin era. But at the same time, I felt like this team just feels like it could have been better. Like the feeling of it and watching it, this team could have been better. Damian Lillard should be playing much better than what he's actually playing. So I'll give him a solid B flat, because I think still being top 3, top 4 in the East, Giannis being a legitimate MVP candidate, defensively, how he's been offensively, how he's been this year. And just, dealing with Adrian Griffin and then getting a new coach midway through the year, dealing with how old the roster is, they still managed to be a top 3 seed in the East, a top 3, 4 seed, wherever they are in the East. So I'll give him a B flat.
This is another team that it's all about expectation. We're going to talk about the Knicks a little bit later, who are lower than the Bucks in the standings, but they're going to have a higher grade than Milwaukee for me. I'd have Milwaukee probably around a B-. And again, we're going into this season. When they make the trade for Damian Lillard, we're saying, is this the best duo in the NBA? Can Milwaukee be the number 1 seed? Should they be favorites in the East? Even when the Celtics were able to acquire Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, that's how high we and everybody else in the NBA was on getting Damian Lillard. And the fact that they are third in the Eastern Conference right now, they're 38-21. On paper, it seems phenomenal, right? Anyone would sign up to have damn near a 65% win percentage, to have some big wins over teams like Boston, teams like Minnesota, having an NBA champion coach in Doc Rivers even. But it does feel like this team is ultimately going to be judged in the playoffs, right? So as we stand right now, 8.5 games back of first place, I think it surprised everybody. I do think we all expected Boston to be a really good team, but I think we also expected Boston and Milwaukee should be neck and neck with each other. I think we all would have been surprised if we said preseason, one of these 2 teams are going to have more than a 5 or 6 game lead, maybe even less, 3 or 4 than one another. But unfortunately, Milwaukee just hasn't been that great or that consistent, really on both sides of the floor. When you had Adrian Griffin, The defense wasn't there. The offense was top 2 or 3 in the league. You have Doc there. The defense has gotten better, but the offense hasn't been the same. I think you contribute a lot of that to Damian Lillard. He has not been the same type of shooter, although he's been a little bit better recently, but specifically in January and pre-All-Star break in February, he was really going through a shooting slump where he was struggling even to hit like 30% from threes, under 40% from the field in general. So if that's able to turn around, if he's able to hit some more jump shots, then I think you'll see the offense, be able to pick up and get back to maybe not a top 2 or 3 level, but at minimum a top 10 level. And if you could pair that with a great defense, which is going to be tough because the personnel I still think is an issue, right? We talked about this previously. Picking up a guy like Patrick Beverley, when you're going up against the Knicks and you need someone to throw at Jalen Brunson, I think that's fine, but I don't think that helps you against Boston, against the Jays. These are dudes that are Jalen Brown 6'7", Tatum 6'8", 6'9". Patrick Beverley just realistically doesn't stand a chance at that guy. Miami's another one. Maybe you could throw him on a guy like Terry Rozier, but when you're talking about Jimmy Butler, even Jaime, who's been phenomenal for them too, it's going to be tough. So Milwaukee, again, this is a team that is going to get judged in the postseason, but in terms of just regular season production, they're probably about a B- for me.
I think I've been a bit too harsh on Milwaukee, but I think it's been deserved. I would give them a C. I feel like this year has been underwhelming. They're still a top seed in the East, and that's crazy to say that, but I just don't like the process in which they have been operating under. With Adrian Griffin, I don't care what the record was, it was a disaster. It wasn't good at all. Talent was getting them by, but the system he implemented on offense and on defense, I just don't think was going to work long term. I feel for Doc Rivers in the fact that offensively, it's hard to come in and just have a brand new system. It's gonna be some growing pains with that. The fact that they are bringing more energy on the defensive side of the ball, they have reduced the amount of points they give up on fast breaks in the paint, I think is a good sign for things to come. This is a team that's now playing with more energy, and you gotta love that. The offense, once the system gets figured out, they could become better. And I feel like these last couple games, the second half of the season, is going to tell a lot about them and about the type of playoff team that they're going to be. There's a lot of question marks around them, but when you have a player as great as Giannis, a lot of those question marks kind of get answered. And, there are just times where he could just dominate and be an overwhelming force. So Milwaukee, I'm giving them a C. I feel like the Adrian Griffin era for me definitely was like a C to maybe like D+, despite the record. The Doc Rivers one, it's getting to like a B now. It's a C+, but they're getting better. The record might not show it, but I think the process is going to be more beneficial for them long term.
Milwaukee has the third toughest schedule remaining. 2 games against Boston, 2 against the Thunder, 2 against Clippers, Knicks, Pels, Suns, all still on the schedule.
It's going to be a lot of tests.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a lot of tests. The New York Knicks are next up, and they kind of feel like they got to be graded on a curve because of the injuries they've dealt with.
Yeah.
I'm giving them a B+. They are teetering or flirting with an A. I feel like if they're fully healthy, they can make a conference finals run, but they need to be fully healthy. OG is still battling with injury. Julius Randle, we really need him back. So I think the Knicks are at a solid B+ for me right now.
I would have them probably closer to an A- or an A. With all the injury they sustained, they haven't been the same team. I think that's obvious. I think that was also expected. When you lose Julius Randle, when you lose OG Anunoby, in that very short span where you had all of them on the court, you guys were phenomenal. I mean, to start off 2024, you were one of, if not the best team in basketball in January. I think you guys and the Celtics were tied for the best record in January, around 14 wins. And when you had OG on the court, shout out to Mikey, 5-2 against teams over 500. That's kind of the one nick in your armor in terms of when you're looking at the Knicks as a playoff team, is against over 500 teams. They've been pretty terrible in terms of teams that are in the playoff contention as we stand today. But having OG and having Randall, it's going to be a completely different team. So once those guys get healthy, that's when I see them kind of as A-, A team. But agreed, over these last 10, 11, 12 games, when everyone's been injured, they've been losing some games. They've been losing some tough games too. But like you said, they have to be graded on a curve.
Okay. Graded on the curve. Yeah,
is that how? What's so funny?
Nothing.
No, I want to know.
I have nothing to say.
Is it because of the Cleveland?
I don't know.
What I grade Cleveland? Did we do
remember,
Cleveland?
I don't remember what you gave Cleveland. That's why I can't really say
I'd probably
anything.
grade Cleveland. I'd probably give them an A. They're the second
I hope you
seed.
did, but I felt like you was throwing some jabs in there for sure.
I think the Knicks are better suited for the playoffs than Cleveland.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's cute and all. It's funny how you just brought up the injuries with the Knicks. You just don't give a fuck when it comes to the Cavs.
I did.
But it's cool.
I give them an A. I'm guessing.
It's cool. The Knicks get a B+ for me. I could throw it an A. If we want to play the curve game, we can play the curve game. They've definitely been dealing with some injuries, but sometimes when you got a star in your team, you're supposed to get these W's. even if your team is injured. Other players can't do it. I've seen other players do it. So I'm going to give them a B+. So I think this team legitimately is a dangerous threat in the East. I think this team, when they are healthy, when they get Mitch back, when they get Randall back, OG back, this is a team that can match up very well. It's really just going to come down to how Randall looks in the playoffs. But in the regular season, the way they've been defensively when they are healthy, when OG got there, how he was putting on an insane impact clinic on both ends of the floor, how Jalen Brunson was playing, like he's been playing at a superstar level this year. So I give him a B+. The injuries have hurt. Dante DiVincenzo has been great for them. I was reading up on the article that they talked about how Steph told him to go to New York. He had offers from Minnesota and a couple other teams he was thinking about. Steph told him to go to New York, and then he ended up having one of his best seasons. So I thought that was like pretty dope how he called them right before he was making his decision. I thought Minnesota being up there, that'd be crazy.
How would they paid him though?
Huh?
How would they?
He didn't put the money in there.
Oh.
He just talked about Minnesota. He was thinking about it, which would have been crazy if he went to Minnesota for sure.
Yeah, they needed him.
But then Steph told him, "Nah, go to New York. Makes sense." Now look at him having a career year. Yeah, so 17 a game, his last 10, 15 games. But I get a Knicks a B+. I think they legitimately could be an ECF team. They're definitely one of those teams that's built for the playoffs. So, I give them a B+.
You looked like some disgust when you said that.
I hate the Knicks. So, yeah,
The
next team is the Miami Heat.
Oh, God.
They're starting to play. Get back into
They're
rhythm.
starting to play. What are they, 8-2 in their last 10?
8-2, yep.
8-2 in their
Won
last
5
10.
in a row.
Yep. Jimmy Butler is back to talking shit. You just need to get in that little fight maybe to get the juices flowing. Jaime's been great. You got Terry Rozier back. I think Josh Richardson is still banged up.
Now.
Yeah, they've been climbing.
New York.
They're climbing up.
I'll be honest. Thank God. Please get those brothers out of that 8 seed, man. I do not want to see them.
You will play them second round.
That's fine. Just not first round. Let's get our feet wet first. No, but I would probably have the Heat. They're another team who's been battling with injuries to a ton of their players, but they're probably around a B for me. I think Miami has proven, especially after last year, that regular season, they're going to screw around some, whether it's because of their actual play or whether it's because of injuries, because both have happened over these last 2 seasons or so. But it's after the All-Star break. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They're 8-2 in their last 10, like we mentioned. It feels kind of, I don't know what the word is, like ironic or whatever, that we do it every single year where when January, December is around, it's like Miami's not going to be able to do it. Now it's February, almost March, and you're like, holy shit, Miami's playing some really good basketball now. And we know they have the best coach in the NBA. Jimmy Butler's a playoff riser. Bam Adebayo is one of the best defenders in the NBA. And I think Jaime could really be that X factor for them. If Jaime could go into a playoff series and he could give you damn near 20 a night, which I think he's capable of, this becomes a really dangerous team in the NBA playoffs. I know all well for myself what they're able to do. So I think we've been talking a lot about Milwaukee, the Cavs, and New York Knicks in terms of that second team in the East behind Boston. But the way the Miami Heat are playing, they have to be in that conversation too.
I'm going to give the Miami Heat a B. I feel like they're playing back into rhythm. I think they're a dangerous team. Right now, they're the second best team in the East to me if we're talking about going into a playoff setting. Number 1 is Boston. Number 2 is Miami. Number 3 is healthy Knicks team. If they're not healthy, it's still Milwaukee. Milwaukee's number 3. They would be in the top 3. I like their team much better than last year.
Yeah.
This team is so much more talented. I think
What was
Jaime
that ranking
Hawkins.
though again?
No Cleveland.
The Heat. Oh, sorry, I forgot about Cleveland.
Please come on.
I'm sorry.
Don't be
sorry.
happy.
I didn't mean to be disrespectful. By the way,
In a playoff series, you would have Cleveland beat Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Fuck.
it's close.
It is
That's
close.
what I'm saying. That's why I don't think it's crazy that Milwaukee over them.
Or
unless you were saying the Knicks over them was the crazy.
Who's your
part.
top 3? I didn't even hear it. That's why I
My
just
top
didn't
3
hear
was the
Cleveland.
Celtics, Heat, and Bucks.
You have the Heat at 2 already.
Yeah.
Not the Knicks.
I just trust the Heat. I really do. I think they've shown it for a plethora of years now.
I respect
and I
that.
think this is the most talented Heat team. I love Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
Again, Rozier. I love Jaime Jaquez. Again, Jaime Jaquez. Now they have somebody else that could create shots. Tyler Hero went down, and now it's starting to feel like they're rejuvenated. But I do think that they're better with Tyler Hero. Mm-hmm. I really honestly believe that. But yeah, this team can make a run, man. They're talented, and they're always going to find a way.
They're one of the best defenses in the league in the half court. But I'm going to throw all these fucking numbers out because it really doesn't matter because this team always finds a way to troll, fuck around throughout the year. And I do think last year, like this year, they have more talent than they did have last year. I think the collection of role players they have, Duncan Robinson kind of finding himself in the playoffs really last year and now playing this year. They got in Rozier, who can be a quality player. Jaime Jaquez has been good for them. Bam has upped his game this year. I know it doesn't look like it in the statistics, but from the eye test, he's upped his game. And then Jimmy's just going to be Jimmy in the regular season. In playoffs, he's going to up his game. Hero's been solid. So, you got players. Then, you can't forget Caleb Martin, Hayward Highsmith. Like, they have just a solid collection of role players that, do the dirty work, do the hard, gritty work, and they like to just play their role. And, you have Spo, who's the best in the world at what he does. He can out-scheme, out-coach anybody in the league. He just, unfortunately, doesn't always have the talent. So, I think I would give him a B. I think with the way they've been playing out like after the All-Star break, kind of just figuring out their ways, winning 5 straight. This is a looming contender in the East. Somebody that is a dark horse that can come out and shake shit up. Next, they'll be in another ECF scaring, the boogeyman over there, giving him some nightmares. But I respect you having them at 2, 2 or 3. I think them versus the Knicks, them versus the Bucks is going to be fire. I think it's going to be interesting between Heat, Knicks, Bucks, Cavs, who kind of comes out to play the Celtics in the ECF, because I think we're kind of expecting the Celtics to be there, but out of those 4, and I really wish Philly was healthy because we could have seen a really, really competitive East this year. But yeah, I'll give the Heat a B.
The Heat could rise to the 4 seed too. They're game and a half back in New York.
You see who's still 2, right?
Cleveland's 2. Milwaukee's on their heels. There are 3 game behind.
Stop, bro.
Milwaukee, Cleveland's still 7.5 behind the 1 seed.
Hey man, listen, if we were healthy, maybe we'd be higher.
Be serious. You guys, because you guys
3 games.
You guys they went 20-4 in that stretch, and Boston went 20-5.
Well, maybe before we wouldn't have went. However, we went. We maybe be like 3-4 games behind. That's respectable.
It is.
Yeah,
The Miami Heat last year, they had to survive the play-in, and then they shocked the Bucks in the first round.
They conquered that shit, man.
I feel like this year they kind of understand they don't want to be in that position again. I feel like that was asking a lot. The Lakers are in a similar stratosphere where last year
I wish
they survived the play-in. Exactly.
They're lying.
and now this year it feels like they're still trying to survive the play-in. They're not trying to be in it, but I just don't see a reality where they're going to finish with one of the top 6 seeds in the West. And this team just feels very underwhelming. The grade I gave for them, a C, because Anthony Davis and LeBron James are playing at such a high level. But this has been an underwhelming team.
The Warriors are next too, right?
Too.
Oh, we already did the Warriors last episode.
Oh, what did I give the Warriors?
I don't
C or B.
Damn, because I feel like, because of the way Draymond came back, I think this team is teetering on F. Like
I was gonna say a C is kind.
C is kind.
They're the 10th seed.
They have LeBron, Anthony Davis, Darvin Ham has been a complete nutshell. He hasn't been good. The rotations have been muddy. The role players that they
won the offseason.
What we thought was the best offseason out of any teams. Coming in, Gabe Vincent's been banged up. Torian Prince keeps shooting step-back threes like he's like that. Cam Reddish hasn't been the same as he's been in the in-season. Ever since the in-season tournament, they literally dropped off as a team completely, like just on offense. I mean, AD's been amazing this year. As a defender, offensively, he's been great. Like as a two, he's probably arguably the best two-way player in the league. Like AD has been that this year. LeBron's still LeBron, but just the guys around him, like, and the way Darvin Ham coaches his team. I mean, this team, I'll give him a D. I feel like you're still in the play-in, so I guess I'll show you a little kindness. You're the 9th seed. You do have a slightly cool winning record, so I'll give you a D. But this team has definitely underperformed. They've definitely disappointed, and they same thing with Miami. Miami felt like they didn't want to be in that position where they have to come out the play-in. Now in the West, that's much better. You don't want to be in a position where you're coming out the play-in. You'll probably have a road game against a possible Phoenix, against a possible Pels if they drop, or a Dallas, like one of these teams. And, I don't know the seeding off the top of my head, but let's say hypothetically, going into Dallas or Phoenix in a playing game, and they're both healthy, is freaking tough. Like, I don't expect to come out there and then have to play one of those top teams in the first round and then got to go out, beat them, then keep doing that again. So, I give them a D plus if that even is possible. But, yeah.
C is me being kind and grading on Drew's Gabe Vincent curve since he hasn't played all season. But realistically, I mean, this is probably a D plus in terms of expectations for the season. I remember when we did our preseason predictions, I had them as a top 4 seed. Don't remember you guys had them, but I was very high on the moves they made. Picking up a guy like Gabe Vincent, and it was pretty funny. Drew tweeted a couple of days ago, the Lakers defense is cooked without Vando and Cam Reddish. And I'm just sitting here saying, if you need Vando and Cam Reddish to save your defense or your season, you are kind of screwed. But I think that's kind of the reality of this team is you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis who have, for the most part, been healthy all season long. Neither of them have suffered a month injury, multi-week injuries. They've been in the lineup for majority of the season. Right now, the Lakers are 15-20 against teams above 500. That's tied for second worst in terms of playoff teams, that top 10 seeds in the Western Conference. there's really no consistency with this team. In my opinion, they're able to beat up on those bad teams. But like Riv mentioned, I have serious questions about Darvin Ham. And I do think the only way they would be able to win some of these series is if Darvin Ham can out-scheme and out-coach some of their players while getting top-end production from LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And I think LeBron and AD can give you that top-end production, but Darvin Ham going up against Chris Finch or Mark Dagnall or Mike Malone, like, I just don't know. Ty Lue, like, these are some of the top coaches in the league that realistically, not to be rude, it feels like Darvin Ham is just going to get, spun around in a circle with some of these coaches. I think that ended up being a part of the factor that they ended up getting swept when all of those games were 2 3-point games with the last closing minutes in the fourth quarters of that Nuggets series last season. Being the 10th seed, they're going to make the play-in. They're not going to fall 10th? To the 11th or 10th. No, you're tied for 10th, but you guys have the tiebreaker, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. You're the 9th seed. You have one fewer loss, one fewer win. You have a .001 higher win percentage than them. So that's why you're the 9th seed. Dallas by 2.5 games.
We're here.
You're 2.5 games.
Don't let us get there.
It's been disappointing. 31-28, 10th seed. You're gonna have to win 2 games potentially to win the play-in and make the playoffs, and then you're gonna have to go up against Minnesota or OKC or the Nuggets or Clippers. It's gonna be a tough playoff run for the Lakers.
I definitely understand your guys' grades. If you have a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and you're the 10th seed in the West, that's a failure of a season.
I thought they'd be top 4 for sure.
You're failing that season. I think the difference between last year and this year is that last year there were injuries to AD and LeBron, and they were losing. That's understandable. But this year, they've been relatively healthy, and they've still been losing, which means that your role players are not giving you the production that you want, or sometimes you have 1 or 2 injuries to guys that are in the rotation, and without them, if the team falls off a cliff, I think that's very concerning. Mm-hmm. So the Lakers, for sure, I think they're in the D+ to C territory. Next team up are the Los Angeles Clippers, the other team out in LA, and I think it's an A+. I mean, the James Harden trade was a home run. Mm-hmm. He's been the point guard that they've needed. I feel like every offseason, whenever we talked about the Clippers, we talked about them getting a point guard. Was Reggie Jackson the answer one time? Malcolm Brogdon was supposed to be somebody traded for to be the answer.
He was trying to get Drew.
Yeah, Drew Holiday. Was Russell Westbrook the answer when he was traded for? I feel like James Harden has been the answer they've been looking for all along, and better yet, he's been better than what Malcolm Brogdon would have been or Drew Holiday would have been. He's facilitating the offense, and they look like a serious contender because of that. They're an A+ 100%.
They've definitely been lagging the month of February, coming out the All-Star break a little muddy. PG's been dealing with some hampering injuries. But A+, A-. This team, I think they lost their first 8 games with James Harden and completely flipped. Ever since that game winner against Memphis, I think it was, or it was against Houston, they completely flipped. It was against Houston. They completely flipped the switch, went on a 25-4 run. They started winning games. The Big Three was playing at an amazing level. You had Norman Powell, arguably one of the best 6-men in the league, hitting threes at an insane rate. Definitely come out flat. You give them an A+. You hope to see this team make the jump that they've been wanting to make. They've been begging for a point guard. They got one of the best point guards we've ever seen in our lifetime for sure. So this is a team that's like these other teams, geared up for the playoffs. They want to be in the playoffs. They got a 4th seed right now. They're still in chance to get the 1st seed. I think they're 2.5 back. So they're right there. I just think right now you got to kind of hope that this team doesn't deal with the injuries. You already see Paul George missing another game tonight. You don't want to see this team starting to get hampered with any injuries. But A+. Great for me.
Yeah, they're an A. This feels like the best chance they have to go to a finals in this Kawhi, Paul George era, bringing in James Harden. A little rocky at first, like you mentioned, but since those first, 5-10 games, they've been one of the best teams in basketball. They're 4th seed right now in the Western Conference, just 3 games behind the number 1 seed. Timberwolves and the Thunder are tied right now, but it's hard to look at this team, and I think maybe the flaw is who's guarding Nikola Jokic? Going up against Timberwolves, they got some size there. That's probably the real question you have. But on the other hand, you have Kawhi Leonard, who could outperform basically anyone not named Joker in a playoff series, in my personal opinion. Paul George has been really solid. James Harden, Norman Powell has been one of the best 3-point shooters, especially catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the NBA this year. Russ's role off the bench. It's hard to really find something negative about this team, other than, like I mentioned, some
Kawhi
size.
Can outperform Joker? Why?
Joker's on a different level.
I don't know. I've seen Kawhi outperform 3 players in one game.
He has, undoubtedly.
I don't know. He's probably one of the few that can do it.
I think if I had a list of guys who could do it, Kawhi would be top of my list, but I don't think he could actually do it, with all due
I
respect.
get what you mean. I don't know. If he's healthy, we talk.
Okay.
I got to see if he's walks in, he's healthy. Sometimes he.
And that, I guess that's the other question. It's health.
But
some size and health.
Definitely at the top of my list. If I had a list, Kawhi would be like probably.
Where would SGA be?
I love how we're just coming back to this conversation. I'm
just curious. No, I'm just curious.
I don't think I can't put him on any list right now until I see it. I've seen Kawhi go up against Giannis. I've seen him go up against Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and win.
You can't make an educated guess on where SGA can be on the list.
In terms of matching up against the Joker, no, I cannot.
So you think, let's say if Jokic plays at an A+, 10 out of 10 level, you
typical
don't think,
Joker, last year's Joker.
You don't think SGA can play at a 9?
What was Joker?
Joker last year was legendary, historical, fucking Michael Jordan type shit, LeBron type shit. Can SGA be one notch below that?
So what is that? D Wade? Even asking for D Wade is hard, bro.
Listen,
I don't think you understand how high Joker was, and even a notch below is still insane. Really fucking high.
Listen, I understand. I know how great Nikola Jokic is. You're never gonna fool me. Yes, I do. Okay. I understand how great Nikola Jokic is. They were my team to go to the finals before KD went to the Suns.
You had a lot of teams. You had the Timberwolves, you had the Suns, you had the Nuggets.
You actually picked Phoenix late.
He did.
That's what I said. After KD got traded, I picked Phoenix. But Denver was my pick for a large reason why, because of Jokic. Even though he went on a historic finals run,
he's not going to do it again.
Not that he's not going to do it again. I think he can do it again. He has capabilities to do it again. Jamal Murray's a big reason for that. And you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic. So you just got to stop Jamal Murray, which is easier said than done. But this time around, I feel like teams will be better geared up to try to neutralize that two-man game and get Jamal off his game, because that's the weakness. If you can make him play a notch below what he plays, now Denver becomes a team you could beat in the playoffs.
Still going to be tough. Jamal and Jokic, the two-man game, that's going to be their bread and butter. But especially in a fourth quarter, if it's a close game, there's no team I trust more than Nuggets to be able to close it out. Even if Jamal's having a tough game, and we saw him average 10 assists in the finals.
Who?
Jamal and Joker?
Jamal outperformed a lot of people.
Yeah, Jamal is a playoff superstar.
That's an already dangerous two-man right there.
Jamal's done it multiple, it's not just as one playoff run. He's had multiple moments that he's been insane in the playoffs.
Yeah, he has. Now, the last team we're going to get into, for no intentional reason whatsoever, is ironically the Suns. The very last team we're talking about. I feel like it's kind of was disrespectful, disregarding them for that long, but that's just the way the draft board
went. You have a Phoenix Suns hoodie on.
Yeah, I do. I like this hoodie. It's very comfortable. The grade for them, I'll give it a B. Yeah. And I feel like they've just dealt with so many injuries, whether it's been Devin Booker early in the season, Bradley Beal too. They were finally getting healthy, playing some great basketball. Now Bradley Beal goes out again. I feel like, they just need to be healthy. There is a concern there at point guard, but for the most part, I think they just need to have their big three healthy because they're so reliant on each guy playing their individual role. But we know KD is great. We know Devin Booker is great, even though I want him to be more aggressive at times. I feel like because he's turned into a point guard this year, he hasn't been the same D-Book self where he has games,
going
out there.
And when you see him have those games, you're like, this is Devin Booker. I know.
Exactly.
Against the Warriors.
And that's what I'm expecting of him more on a more consistent basis. Maybe we see it in the playoffs. And I think Nurkic has been excellent for them. Nurkic has been really one of the more underrated, underappreciated players in the league this year with how he's played. But I think this is a B, and they improved their depth, which was also a concern. And now, best case scenario for them is just getting healthy and seeing how far they could go.
Best case scenario for them is getting healthy and seeing how far they can go.
We've been saying this literally since day one of the season.
A team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker is just to see where you can go. We'll figure it out.
What's their ceiling, Joel?
He's not a fan no more, man. He's just not.
What's their ceiling?
Can they beat OKC in a playoff series?
It's going to be very tough.
I'd hope so.
That'd be fire.
It would be.
That'd be fire.
It's going to be very tough. Listen, I don't know.
You don't trust the star power of Phoenix?
I really just don't trust
genuinely don't
Phoenix.
think Bradley Beal's that good.
As we stand today, they play Denver in round one.
I just don't. Yeah, they would lose in the first round.
Oh, that's a definitive. OKC's like, maybe. Okay. I just want to see where your head is at. That's all.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I do.
Are you an OKC fan now?
He seems like a diehard.
I'm not an OKC fan. I'm just being honest about them.
Okay.
I think this team is
two
legit.
just different like ends of the OKC spectrum.
I just think
here.
there's a difference between OKC and what the Suns have been this year from a trust perspective.
1,000%.
Even when the Suns have been healthy, the coaching, specifically the fourth quarters, are very concerning, and they
Worst
don't
fourth
have
quarter team in the league.
and they don't have anybody that can set the tempo realistically. It's just hard for me to trust the Suns in a setting where the pressure's really on them.
There's just very few times where I can't remember off the top of my head. There's very few times where a team with this much lack of experience comes in and just out the gate, be elite, get to the WCF,
Talking about
get to the
OKC,
finals.
yeah.
Yeah, like there's very few times. Like this is a team. The reason why the team is so boom or bust potential, the reason why this team could make the WCF or could get out in the first round is because of the lack of experience. The teams that they might play have guys that's been doing this for so long. So with Phoenix, this is a team that's gonna just be, let's get in and let's just rely on our big three. I think they have a solid five. I think the big three, Grayson Allen, Nurkic, and then you brought in Royce. Eric Gordon's cool at times. Bobo has been playing well.
Yeah, last couple.
But
games,
I don't think you're gonna rely on him in a playoff series. The problem is they don't have enough guys that they can fully trust. I think they have a confirmed solid 5-man with Royce O'Neal being the 6. I like Okogie minutes, but he doesn't get him consistently enough. I think he's great for certain teams, like small ball teams like the Clippers, the Warriors, OKC. He would be great in those matchups. He'd be a nightmare on the boards. Defensively, he'll be able to get in there. But I understand. I actually don't understand why he doesn't play enough as he should, but I get it. At the same time, I'll give him a B. Dealing with the injuries, you started off the year, no Bradley Beal, then Devin Booker got hurt. Kevin Durant had to do a lot of the carrying. Then you were in the play-in at one point. But now they've starting to catch their stride. They've starting to get their gear. They made a move at the deadline. They got in Royce O'Neal, who's, a solid player that can defend, can hit the 3-ball. So right now it's just about staying healthy, getting your groove, getting that chemistry, and then going into the playoffs and relying on that star power to win. Because in the end, this is one of the teams where the regular season, it doesn't matter. This is one of the teams where the regular season, this shit means nothing. All it's about is getting in, and if they get in, that's where they're going to be judged. But for the season right now, being a top 6 seed with what they've been having to deal with, I give them a B.
Yeah, they went on that stretch in late December, early January, right, where they trying to see if I could find the numbers, but they strung off a bunch of wins, and because beginning of the season they had Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, that first 10 or so games, they were both missing the majority of it. But outside of that, Booker and KD have been on the floor together for majority of the season. KD's been the most healthy out of all three. Bradley Beal, it really feels like we haven't seen more than a 2 or 3 week stretch that he's been on the floor consistently, just consistently dealing with he broke his nose, he had a hammy injury. He's just dealt with 6 different injuries, it feels like, this season, unfortunately. So this is another team that you kind of have to grade on a curve. I don't think you make that Bradley Beal trade in the beginning of the regular season and you sit in basically what March is now, and you're the 6th seed, flirting closer with a play-in spot than you are as the number 4 seed as a playoff lock. But again, you've had a ton of injuries, especially to Bradley Beal. And when you made that Bradley Beal trade, you gave up a lot of potential adjustments to your team when you gave up, basically all that salary cap space, and you went out and you signed a bunch of vet minimum guys. More than not, didn't end up panning out, but like you mentioned, we're bringing up signing Royce or trading for Royce O'Neal. I think he's been a pretty solid 6th man for them in the 5 or 7 games he's played, and Eric Gordon as a 7th man. I think that 7 in a playoff setting is okay. It's really going to come down to who's going to be their backup big in the playoffs as well. I think that's a bit concerning too. Nurkic has been sensational for them, but who's going to play that backup big minutes is questionable. I don't love the KD at the 5 minutes, especially if you're going up against some of these bigger teams. If you have to go up against a Minnesota or, of course, Denver, I think that's just going to be food. The spacing is nice. The idea of it is nice. But realistically, the minutes that KD has given at the 5 this season hasn't given them the best results. So overall, I'll give them a B just because of the injuries. I think, as I said, the 6th seed, I'm looking at a B. But if it was a couple days ago and if they were at the 7 or 8 seed and Dallas was at the 6, I'd probably be this is probably a C+. But when you have Devin Booker, you have Kevin Durant, they're going to be feared-ish in the playoffs because both of those guys, we've seen them have insane playoff performances. They could be the best player in a playoff setting, but it's just really the parts around them you have to have the faith in. Is Grayson Allen going to continue to shoot damn near 50% from 3? Is Nurkic going to play at this level? That's more of the questions I have. And, of course, like I mentioned, the backup big scares me too.
Now, we were having an SGA conversation earlier. OKC is 3-1 against Denver this year. I know regular season doesn't mean much when we talk about playoffs, but this year I can actually say this year when OKC has faced any top team in the West, whether that's been the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, or the Suns, and you got the Pelicans.
Dallas
OKC
was
is
3-1 against the Warriors in the 2022 regular season.
Okay.
Denver was also 3-1.
I think it's flawed. It's definitely a flawed way to look at things.
I know what you tried to do just
now. But all I'm saying is that this year, all I've seen is OKC rise up to the occasion against the elite of the elite teams in the West.
Sure.
The other night when I saw them beat the Clippers, that was a statement win.
Yes.
And I know that they're a young team, but I think that they can match up with Denver. And I'm looking at the sportsbook odds right now. Nikola Jokic is favored to win MVP at -135. SGA is number 2 at +230. And
that's a steal.
SGA, to me, given the stats he has, he's not far away from the first seed in the West. That's a value. That's a bargain to get him for +230.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show just the level that he's playing at this year. But,
Nikola
playoffs
Jokic
will matter, so we'll see.
Jokic didn't play in their most previous matchup against the Thunder.
So 2-1 against the Nuggets when Jokic plays.
That's why I'm checking the other ones.
I
And
know
all
the
of these
third
games,
matchup
most
was
of these
a
games are
blowout.
close. The game against without Jokic, the Thunder won by 5. The Thunder smoked the Nuggets by like 26 in late December. The Thunder won by 1 in early December, and then the October game, the Nuggets won big.
Let me see just some stats here because I'm trying to see SGA stats against the Nuggets this season. Let's see what he's averaging. 26.5 points per game, 5.8 assists, 5.3 rebounds. 12% from the field, went for 2 for 16 in their first matchup.
Said 12%.
Yeah, I did. 45% from the field next matchup. 70% next matchup. 45.5% next matchup. In his first 2 matchups, he went 0 for 4 from 3, 0 for 2 from 3. Then he went 2 for 3 in the next 2 matchups. 66.7%. It's good numbers. He could definitely play better. I think we'll play better.
pretty well.
Don't know if that's MVP numbers.
You said 12%, bro.
Said 26, 5 and 5. It's a tough.
26,
MVP.
5. No, you're right. Got to play better than that. Let's look
That's
at
a
Chet.
drop off from his,
It is. Let's look at Chet Holmgren's stats this year against Nuggets. 29-4, 4 blocks.
There you go.
So Chet eats.
That's
Chet
average
eats.
or just one game?
No, that's average. 19.5, 8.5 rebounds. He went 19 for 4, 17 for 11, 24 and 6, 18 and 13. He had 8 blocks in one game and 5 blocks in the other.
Oof.
And let me look at
shot my twin.
Let me look at Jalen Williams. J-Dub be up there doing his thing. He averaged 16 and 6.
Oh.
Played 3 games against Denver.
All this episode showing me is you tweeted this actually, Riv, that the Western Conference playoffs this year is going to be insane.
This summer is going to be nasty.
It's going to be
The
nuts.
Joker averages 24, 10, and 8 in the 3 games he plays against them. That's regular Joker shit.
It's calm stuff. That's who Nikola Jokic is.
He shot 90% one time.
This ain't no disrespect to Jokic.
Wait, Jamal. He shot 90% one time. 75% to 53. Pretty much he doesn't miss when he plays.
I mean, he doesn't miss, period.
I don't think anybody going to take this as me being disrespectful to Jokic. I know who Jokic is. Jokic is that guy.
I hope not.
It's just...
I just hope nobody takes that we're being disrespectful to OKC. I feel like it was a good conversation.
Okay.
We were
I
just,
appreciate that.
I can't
we're on
believe
one spectrum.
Clear as Tatum is just so nuts, bro.
That one, you lost me. You lost me with that one.
I get it. You don't like Tatum. Everyone's bored of Tatum. It's fine. He's going to win a championship this year, and we could dead these conversations. I can't wait.
In 5 to 6 years, SGA might be like a 4-time NBA champion.
Okay. Jason Tatum's a better
You're
chance
an
than
OKC
SGA.
fan.
Now, let me
Who
lay
has
out
a better
the scenario
chance?
to you.
Who has a better chance, Tatum or SGA?
SGA is going to win more championships in his career than Tatum.
With the way the West is set up versus the East.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me lay out the scenario for you guys.
It's funny enough. He's an Ant-Man guy.
4 championships is crazy.
He is an Ant-Man guy.
SG's a top 15 player ever. Let's call it ours. He wins 4 chips. He's top 15 ever.
Let me lay it out to you this way. This scenario.
You said in 5 years too.
Let me lay it out to you
You
this
said
way.
4 chips in 5 years.
Who got the most draft capital? In the
OKC.
They can win one.
Okay, no, but listen
Saying they
to
win
me.
4 is crazy.
Listen to me here. Listen to what I'm about to say. If the Bucks underperform, Giannis wants out.
If they get fucking Giannis, okay, anything's on the
SGA
table.
will be a 1B at that point.
I think that OKC is gearing up to get Giannis. And I think
Where do you get Giannis from?
because Giannis will be available because the Bucks will underachieve and he will want to win a championship and that's
Well,
out.
he's not a free agent next year.
I
He
know.
signed it
but,
at like 2-3 extension, right?
but all I'm saying is that I think OKC is gearing up to make a play for a guy like that.
Okay.
And if they get Giannis in the next 2 years,
What is that trade package?
Finals MVP.
it's going to be all of their draft picks.
You don't.
players too. Though.
I was
Every
say,
single one.
You're giving
Jalen Williams has to be in the deal.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts pretty bad.
Yeah.
One of Chet or J-Dub, I think, has to be in the deal.
I'd probably. Honestly, I don't know who's better. I don't know if J-Dub or Chet's better.
I feel like they can both play. Chet, I think Giannis can play with Chet.
I think so too.
You know, so that
And all that size would be.
that SGA rings thing is off the assumption they use their draft capital, get one of them guys.
Yeah, if the Celtics.
no different than what the Warriors did with
Wemby,
Curry.
bro. Like
What?
It's no different than what the Warriors did with Curry when they went and got KD.
Curry won before he got a star player.
Oh,
And then he won after.
SGA can win before he gets Giannis in the building. You know, who
Maybe.
knows?
Well, Giannis has to happen in the next year or two. Dame's fucking like 34.
Giannis
You
will
know,
be
it has
30
to
in like
happen
a year or two. He
is.
Yeah.
No, it has to happen relatively soon. But
Nobody
I
else. It's just got to be Giannis.
So
Just
what's
one of
gonna,
those superstar
so how
guys.
is Ant-Man going to be a top 10 player of all time if SGA?
I
is
never
just
said top
dominating?
10.
You said top 20.
yeah.
Top 20.
I do like D Wade.
You
in
said,
top
you
20.
said like best point guard best shooting guard of all time.
Well, Anthony Edwards is 22. He got a lot of basketball life.
True, I
in
guess
him.
the next 5
I
years he
mean,
could
Cat's due for
27.
50 to 60 mil in the
Cat,
next 3-4
Anthony
years.
Edwards. Sorry, I'd say Cat. Anthony Edwards in 5 years will be 27.
0 rings?
Who knows?
Who's
I
his
mean,
number
I
two
don't know
gonna
what
be?
the future's gonna hold.
Well, I mean, if you think SGA is going to get 4,
Now, I think that OKC can literally make a trade for like a guy like Giannis, and if they get like one of those
I don't
guys,
disagree. You're
I
you're
think they
asking
would win
for
a
a lot.
championship.
Like, this is, this is.
You don't think it's realistic
It's
that
it's possible.
As of right
If
now-
any
as
team-
of
if
right
any
now, it's
team
a pipe
could do
dream.
it, it is. But if any team could do it, OKC is
Yes.
the most loaded. to
or
do
what
it.
if
I
they
agree.
go and get Joel Embiid?
That's more realistic. I think.
You
I
think it's
think.
more
I
realistic
think
than
Embiid
Giannis?
leaving is more realistic than Giannis leaving. At
So
this
if,
point.
with Doc Rivers as coach, Dame aging, if the Bucks underachieve, you don't think Giannis will want out?
this season,
I think he'll give it.
He'll
one
give
more.
it one more year.
Yeah.
He'll give it one
I
more
think
year.
Embiid could axe out this summer.
I think he gives it one more year if he sees that there's a silver lining. I think if he kind of already understands like what the Bucks are, what the ceiling is, I think he will.
There's
leave.
other teams with the same capital. Not same, but that can make moves.
Yeah,
like
but their
OKC.
capital
The
is-
Knicks
their
can make
capital is
moves.
insane.
The Knicks could get one.
Knicks
No,
can make
Knicks
moves.
can make moves. We don't got
But
the
it's just
type of
if-
war
No, you
chest.
don't-
If
you
you're
don't-
Milwaukee,
Thunder
I'd much rather send him to the West than have to face them in New York.
I would rather be in the East.
That's what I'm saying. Tatum, the path is a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And we'll see, man. We'll see. But that's gonna do
I mean,
it.
if Joel Embiid goes, Chet's gone. You're not
So
playing
hold
both
up,
of them.
Joel would go to the West and Giannis go for the West. Who was fucking with us?
Oh, yourselves.
Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag.
He's
Hey,
coming
he's a
in.
Duke guy. He's gonna come to Boston one day.
And that's going to do it for episode 357 of the Pick a Side Pod. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. And don't forget to use code PAS on Prize Picks for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.